Hey, let's start the show.
It's April 5th, 2012. Welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. I'm Will Smith. Joining me today, Norman Chan. How you doing, sir?
Good. Now that I have a cup of coffee that you made for me.
It's a delicious cup of coffee, isn't it?
It's pretty good. Are these the beans?
Those are similar beans. I used used the last of last week's bag. That's this week's bag.
These were roasted on April 2nd.
Indeed, they were. Today's the 5th. Gary Whitta, how you doing? You're sitting over there wearing a V-neck sweater, it seems.
Yes, thank you. I would like to second Norm's appreciation of the coffee. One of the good things about podcasting out of your house is that there's always good coffee here.
Well, you know, when we have an office, I'm going to push really hard to make sure that we have good coffee and a full coffee brewing station in our
I mean, even if that means bringing your own stuff in,
Yeah,
right?
I'll bring it in.
Can we do a mystery coffee of the week where you taste coffee and tell us where the world's from?
I am not capable of that. I do not have that kind of refined a palate. I would like to thank you for using your coaster, though, Norm, which was set out for you. And thanks, Gary, for using your coaster as well.
It says Sugar Ray on it.
Great. C-Ray, actually. I think that's a tchotchke from the place Gina used to work. So yeah, we're still here in my living room. You can, if you're watching the video, then you see that. Yeah, it's right here that I did a time-lapse build of the little tiny Death Star. It's sitting in the middle of the table.
That's a really nice model.
I thought that turned out really well.
MIDI scale.
Yeah, it was like $30 right? too.
Yeah.
I feel like that was a pretty
model.
good deal. I felt like that was my Bricks from the Bay haul, so I was stoked about
You're
it.
surrounded by quite a few impressive Lego pieces. You've got the blockade runner behind you, the Solomon Guggenheim Museum. You've got the Death Star over here, rebuilt.
Mostly
just
rebuilt.
as the Empire rebuilt the Death Star, you have mostly rebuilt the Death Star.
Yeah, we're missing some key pieces to finish the top because they're in Norm's Super Star Destroyer.
I look at that Star Destroyer in front of me, and it looks like a football.
It does kind of look like a football. It wouldn't kick very well, though.
Or throw.
And, of course, you've got the amazing Kusu Hayabusa Japanese satellite over there as well.
So I'm going to see if I can borrow Norm's fancy high-end camera and do a stop-motion build of that. We'll talk about stop-motion. Well, we can talk about stop-motion now if you want, but I want to do that with like the full stop-motion with like the high-res, nice Norm camera.
I'm very jealous of that satellite. That's a great. I may have to.
Thank you, Stephen P. Lynn.
I may have to go on eBay and get.
No, you want the submarine.
Well, I want both, but I think I like both. But you're gonna pay.
Well, the submarine.
Why
you
are
can
these
get
just
for
not
like
available in the US?
$2,530.
Yeah, I know it's annoying me.
Actually, Gary, I'll give you some good news. The satellite, they had extras because it didn't sell as well as the submarine in Japan. And on Lego.com, they will be selling the satellite. Just online though, at just the retail.
Do you know when that's going to start?
I don't know exactly
because I will.
When that happens, you should jump on it.
Yeah. The next one, of course, is the Minecraft thing, and you can still pre-order that.
I don't care about that. I'm really excited about the Sop with Camel, the famous World War I fighter plane, which Lego
Snoopy flies it.
Yes, thank you. It was also flown by real World War I fighter pilots,
like Snoopy.
Yes. And
the Red Baron,
and of course the big
big
R2D2, which is coming out in a few weeks. I'm excited for both of those.
I can't wait for the big R2D2. I know what I'm getting for my birthday this year. P.S. It's a big R2D2.
That's pretty sad that you know what you're getting for your birthday.
Well, this is the problem with liking Lego now, because now the gifts are easy and obvious.
Get it, not for your birthday, and then for your birthday get something unexpected, because that's the challenge for your birthday. Like the Alan Moore story for the man who was everything. The toughest thing that Superman's friends had to do was get him a birthday present because they could. And you know what?
What did they get Superman?
The best present was friendship.
Spoilers.
Friendship.
Really, the Super Friends is the best present.
Friendship. Was the present.
So you're saying that Batman and Aquaman and Wonder Woman got
no,
Superman?
Only
the Wonder
Woman
Twins
and Batman and Robin got him presents. And Superman does everything. He has a fortress. I mean, he has no family, but.
I would actually say that Superman is kind of a tragic figure. I mean, his entire civilization at homeworld was wiped out.
Well, the Bottle City of Kandor.
Which was the story. The story was that Mongol, one of his nemesis, tricked Superman into thinking that he was back on Krypton with a family with alternate
that's
memories.
A nice birthday present.
No, but then once he realized it was fake and he didn't really have a family and he was brought back into the real world, he got really angry and they fought.
I think immunity to kryptonite or something would be a pretty good present to give Superman. It's like his last weakness.
The Bottle City, like somebody could break into Brainiac's secret satellite and steal that. That'd be kind of nice.
I guess.
I'd want a bottle city.
All right. I mean, who wouldn't want a bottle city? It's like an ant farm full of Kryptonians. That would be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
What else? What else could you get Superman though? Like, do you think Superman likes a cake?
A Pulitzer?
I would think Superman. Why wouldn't Superman like cake?
Everybody likes cake. Kryptonians got to eat cake.
There's
too.
also, I mean, the argument's been made before. You know, there was a famous Seinfeld conversation about whether or not Superman has a sense of humor. It's like, well, he has super powers and everything. Like, you'd think you'd have a super good sense of humor.
I don't think he does.
I always
though.
get like, do you think he enjoys cake more though? Like, he has super hearing, right?
You'd think he'd be able to taste
must
it
Super
more.
smell,
super
super
taste.
senses. So like the cake
Yeah.
must taste
Yes.
better to him than to the average person.
But if you'd think that would have
Or
come
would
out
it
in
be
the
too
comics.
overwhelming? Be like, oh, this is too
Yeah.
rich, it's too sugary because my taste buds are too sensitive.
Yeah,
I
'cause-
don't know.
Well, no, it doesn't matter because he gets more energy from the sun than he would.
Yeah, he doesn't
from
eat,
just
right?
carbohydrates and fat.
He just
Like,
needs
doesn't
to blend
need
in.
eat. He has basically a fusion reactor in his stomach. Like he can process everything.
He has Mr.
perfectly.
Fusion in his
Yes, he
belly.
does. So yeah,
Well, yeah, he's gonna have a super metabolism. I'm just saying, I'm sure he can eat whatever he wants.
But if
it's
he
just
has-
the question, would the food taste even better to him?
If he has super taste, though, you'd think he'd use that to fight crime and villains. Like he'd lick the floor and be like, "Yeah, I taste Lex Luthor's treads here."
no, he can just
Luther
look,
was here.
he can just look at. The
Yeah,
floor.
he can sense things
Yeah,
in
you
other
don't need
ways.
to
He doesn't have to
lick
get
the
gross.
floor.
I don't know,
licking
but
the floor. I think is a bad
maybe
image.
maybe all this licking that you've done over the years has been trying to build up your super taste, Norm.
It sounds like a bad NBC procedural starring Jenna
Yeah.
Maroney.
The taster.
Yeah, she's an unconventional cop. She has super taste.
Nom, nom, nom.
There actually is a comic book
no.
by that.
Chew.
Chew, yeah,
Yeah.
right, which is a guy who uses his taste to solve crimes.
Yeah, but I think he can only taste dead guys. Isn't that right? He
I
can
don't
see
know.
Dead
It is,
people.
It is.
Yeah,
that is correct.
Yeah. So he's a cannibal.
Okay.
This is probably a good time to mention that this podcast is not for kids. We delve into a variety of adult topics.
Can we address
and-
this? Because
No, there's no addressing.
Well, no, I
we
just
talked
wanna-
about it at Jar Time last night.
Well, I didn't.
at length.
Yeah, but not everybody watched that.
Well, they should go
For
to the site and
people,
watch
for
it. It's
people
a
listening to the
fantastic piece of
I
podcast
heard it was
now,
Tuesday.
we can allay their fears that there isn't necessarily a language filter that's being applied, right? Some people were worried that some of the
And I think-
saltier elements of the show may be toned down.
I don't think you can say not for kids. It's for more mature kids.
Yeah. Well, see, here's the thing. We don't know what the solution to that is yet. It has been a little bit of a problem. I've gotten a couple of angry emails from parents and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Adam has used salty language on the website already in
Right.
written articles. Those guys understand that the internet is kind of a different.
Now,
It has a different set of rules.
there's a clear
than
difference
TV.
between salty language and being offensive,
Yeah.
needlessly offensive.
Yeah.
So I think, once you've decided what the rule is, we'll stay within those parameters. But right now I don't quite know, I feel
You
like
made
we're
it 39 minutes last week. That was pretty
I know,
impressive.
but I don't even know if I'm supposed to be trying. Like,
No,
I don't,
I don't think you need to hold back. I mean, we are enthusiastic about the things we talk about, and sometimes the only way to express enthusiasm is using
to
some
use
salty language.
filthy
Coarse
language.
language.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the spur of the moment.
Yeah. Sometimes. So yeah, that's the.
It's a good way to communicate your deeply felt passion for a subject.
Well, it's not really a good way, but it is an effective way. That's what I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah.
So
We
yeah.
know no other ways.
I was always taught that swearing is a sign of a limited vocabulary, which is, perhaps not a bad argument. But
I always kind of thought that was fucking bullshit.
But we also value feedback a lot.
Yeah.
And I
So-
think the feedback so far has been very positive.
About the overall changes or the new podcast, the slightly changed
The
podcast.
podcast. Yeah, I mean, just for the podcast.
Yeah.
At least.
I'm enjoying it. It's also kind of fun to do it in the living room. It doesn't sound much worse. I was afraid we were gonna have some weird audio issues, but everything seems to be cool. So yeah, let's just jump right in. There's a bunch of stuff to talk about this week. Do we want to talk about the coffee? You seem to be very interested in this coffee, Gary.
well, I'm always interested in, as you know, I am interested in coffee, and I'm interested when you make it because we get to have the special gourmet pour over mesh filter method, whatever it is.
You
you're
mean the
employing this
cone
week.
plus Chemex?
I had never seen Rwandan coffee before, and I didn't know if is that ethically appropriate these days? I mean, isn't Rwandan kind of a war-torn country? Is this like
Well, in the
what if
90s,
this,
I mean,
what
it's
if this
not like-
coffee's made by like warlords employing like child soldiers or something?
So I haven't done a ton of research. I read coffee blogs, and they usually do that stuff for me, so I don't have to think about that. But my understanding is that yes, there was a horrible genocide in Rwanda in the late 90s.
And there's a movie about it.
Which one?
Hotel.
Oh
Rwanda,
yeah, I thought
With
yeah,
Don Cheadle.
yeah.
Yeah. It's quite good.
yeah, well-known problems.
Yeah, it was a seat of unrest, but there have been reforms in the government. There's some kind of democracy there now. I don't know if it's a real democracy or fake democracy.
Yeah.
But it seems like people aren't being killed because of who they are or where they were born anymore.
And even if that place is still tumultuous, it's not like everyone there, it's not like the coffee's made by the warlords, right? It could be.
Well, we don't.
Well, no, it's actually made by.
The point is, we don't know.
The point is that the coffee is being Ritual buys the places I buy coffee from people who are sustainable and all the stuff that you hear about on Portlandia that matters. This is not warlord coffee.
I'm more offended by Ritual's logo and how it it conveys.
It's a bit communist, isn't it? Yeah.
Look
at that. It looks like a hammer.
Star?
It looks like the
Yeah.
well, I mean,
It's a sickle and star.
Yeah, the coffee
it's a
cup
cup.
looks exactly like the sickle
Did you not?
from the
That's the
old
first thing I
Soviet
noticed.
logo.
I guess that's true. It is a little communist. Yeah. Well, I like
what's the thought behind
Gary
that?
drinks Nazi coffee. I guess I drink communist coffee. What do I know?
Socialist coffee.
So exactly socialist coffee. So yeah, that's the story on Rwanda. It's Gary is by your silence, I'm assuming that you completely agree and apologize for impugning my coffee, and also are enjoying it a great deal.
Well, this coffee apparently has a flavor of pink grapefruit, toasted marshmallow, and boysenberry. I did not taste any of those flavors in the coffee. Not because I had Splenda in it. But
because you had Splenda in it.
Even before I put the Splenda in it, I couldn't taste those flavors.
Well, you know.
It just tastes like coffee.
The flavors that I can taste are usually the chocolate and like the dark berries, like blackberries and stuff like that. But the other stuff I don't. I don't know what toasted marshmallows taste like exactly. I think that's a weird flavor note for coffee.
Like period? Toasted marshmallow?
I mean, I know what they taste like when you eat them, but they usually just taste like sweet and burnt. There's like a charred element, and it doesn't matter. Let's talk about tech news.
Okay.
And science. Is that Gary's phone
That's
ringing
Gary's
over there?
phone right over there.
By ignoring that phone, I guess Gary means he's putting his full attention toward today's podcast. He says just turn it off.
I'm afraid to turn off the phone because I see who it's from, and it could be important. But I'm going to turn it off anyway because Gary said so.
Okay. Very good. Good talk, Norm. This is a great bit of the podcast.
You know what it said on that phone? It said Hollywood.
Woo.
That was a phone call from Mr. Hollywood.
So should we talk about the thing at the top of the list? Because Gary... Archie's coming. Google's Project Glass.
Okay.
There was a little bit of news about this earlier, I guess like 2 or 3 weeks ago, kind of it seemed like a very controlled leak to the New York Times.
It was, Nick Bilton has lots of friends at Google X.
Everywhere.
Yeah, well, everywhere, but specifically with Google X. He's the one who broke the story a few months ago saying, hey, Google has been working on some goggles for a while.
Yes.
Believe me or don't believe me, but I
Virtual
know
reality, augmented reality goggles.
And we've talked about this, whether it's a good idea or not.
Okay, so to recap,
just conceptually, yeah.
In case you didn't know, Project Glass, which is what Google is calling this, is from their Google X kind of skunkworks think tank, whatever. It's their the modern day equivalent of Park and all these other.
But they have Google Labs.
But this is for further out. They're looking at space elevators and augmented reality glasses.
Like their DARPA
crazy
division,
shit,
right?
It's like Lockheed Skunkworks and Xerox's Park, right? This is long-term research that doesn't have immediately applicable,
right? Just researching stuff just to see what
purposes.
might come out of it.
See if we can make cool stuff happen. So
it's not as far from the future or far away in the future as like
space elevators,
exactly. Because not yesterday's report when it first broke, but a couple months ago, Nick Bilton was already saying that Google was planning to release consumer products by the end of this year.
Yeah, and judging so what this is a pair of augmented reality glasses. You put them on. They actually have shown some. I don't know if those were prototypes or mock-ups. It seems like they were prototypes.
Mock-ups.
Really?
I don't think those are working prototypes. They look way too polished to be working prototypes.
Well, so one of the guys that's working on this team is the guy who made the contact lenses with the display in them, or last year or the year
technology
before.
that really exists. Right. Absolutely.
Things that are real.
Let's paint the word picture.
Yeah, so these are a pair of glasses you put on, and basically you have a heads-up display over the world that is running Android. That's the long and short of it.
That's it.
Like you look at icons that pop up in the HUD, and you can do things like take pictures, and there's some voice controls.
When you say glasses, do you mean something that looks like Oakley glasses?
The original report said Oakley Thumps, which were those big dumb glasses with the MP3 player built in for snowboarders.
Or you're talking about like the weird Vin Diesel skull cap glasses, or you're talking about
what you're talking
the ones
about.
that go over the head. You're talking about ski goggles, because we've seen ski goggles with HUDs before.
I'm talking about something that was smaller than any previous HUD that I have seen. So they were basically.
Yeah, I mean, for this to work, these glasses just need to look from the outside like regular glasses or sunglasses, right? Like you can't look like you're walking around with crazy Geordie LaForge type shit on your face.
They
They
actually
don't look like
more,
Geordie LaForge shit.
They look more like visors than sunglasses, though. Right now, they look like a thin plastic band, and you have it's very narrow.
They look metal to me, but
metal band, but you have the HUD on one eye, and it's not covering the eye. It is a little above the eye.
yeah, that's more or less it.
Yes.
And it seems like it kind of projects into your field of view, but you have to kind of look up and around to get what you want. It seems like there are no specifics. It seems like there's probably eye tracking because they basically Google released a concept demo video of what the first person mode looks like. And you showed a guy basically getting up, making coffee, checking the weather, looking at the time, going through all of that kind of day to day.
I'm shaking my head because it was just a concept video.
Did they say it was a concept video?
Absolutely a concept
I'm just
video.
saying. I'm just asking.
There's no way. It clearly was a concept video. It wasn't a lens over a camera with that software running.
Well, okay,
it was CG
but it could be a
overlay.
mock of what their software is looking like. I mean, there's nothing.
they
Nothing in that
said it
video
was
is
a concept
impossible
video.
with today's software.
Correct, but it was just an animation.
It was
a
clearly an
animation.
overlay over
Yeah,
a
this
first
all
person
feels
video.
very much like those pie in the sky videos that Microsoft or whatever put out every couple of years.
Yeah,
In a world,
exactly.
everything will be made of
Yeah, but the
glass.
difference is-
show me the thing when it's real, and then we can get into
Well,
it.
that's where I think all of us ended up.
Because
There was a lot of-
we've already talked about the theoretical side of this a
Right.
lot. Like it can be used for evil things, or it can be good. Who knows? Like the concept videos for me are meaningless.
Yes. I mean, even if we give them the benefit of the doubt and say they got the software right this time. Yes, it's running Android, but let's say it's as smooth as this concept video.
If it's as smooth as
wants
a
to be,
Nexus phone,
sure.
that's fine. I'm in.
What is the use case for this?
Lady repellent?
What is
Maybe,
the
I don't know.
intentional use case for this?
The intentional use case is that you can be connected to the internet and have all the benefits of your smartphone without having to be walking around with your phone in front of you all day
Yeah,
long.
you can wander around in that little antisocial bubble without even looking like you're in that bubble.
Well,
You can actually look like you're engaged with the world around you, even if you're not.
So we're talking about sensors that scan the immediate area because you want augmented reality. You're talking about sensors that a camera that looks at your eye for eye tracking.
yes.
You're talking about some type of projection mechanism
Sound.
and sound. Sounds very cumbersome.
Well, so there's two things. There's two things that didn't happen that I know people were concerned about. The demo video, and judging by the way those glasses look, I don't think there's any way for Google to overlay things on top of things in the real world. Like they don't have. It seems like they don't have the precision to say, oh, okay, that is a logo for something that we don't want to show an ad. Like that's a Magnavox logo. Magnavox isn't even around anymore, I don't think. But Sony has a deal with us to block out all the Magnavox logos in the world and replace them with Sony logos.
The problem with that is that the camera looking out into the world isn't as good yet.
Doesn't seem to have the,
And I
the
don't
field of
think
view.
we're even dealing with anything that
Right. They're talking more about pop-ups. It's
that's
pop-ups.
sinister.
That's
It is. You got a Twitter notification or a
Right.
GChat message.
Or one obvious application is like turn-by-turn navigation right in your heads-up display,
Which
right?
which was one of the things they showed actually, and was
Right.
pretty cool.
Like instead of seeing an arrow on a map of a street, the arrow would actually be like laid literally on the street corner that you're looking
See,
at, like
they
like a
they
painted
weren't
road
doing
sign.
that stuff. That's the thing.
But
They-
that's what I imagined it would be useful for.
right. You want the Fable sparkly trail,
Yes.
of where you should go.
Yes.
What
Would
they
that
were-
be enough of a killer app? Heads-up navigation?
Yes. It
I-
would.
You
I
think
believe
so?
it would.
So just on a kind of more metaphysical level, I don't like GPS very much. I've started using a GPS for the first time ever. I've always been a map guy before.
Yeah, riding in both of your cars.
Yeah.
You guys have very, very different philosophies for GPS, I've noticed. Will, and I think Will and I share the same philosophy where the GPS, you look at a map and then you kind of figure it out in your head.
Yeah.
And then you can optimize in your head and you are thinking nonstop and trying to, figure out the best path.
Yeah, because the
Gary,
GPS is
you
rarely the
follow
best path.
GPS to a T.
Well, unless I'm in a specific situation where I know that I know better than the GPS, like if I'm in a familiar area and I'm like, well, I know that this shortcut's actually better than what the GPS is trying to do, I'll override it manually and just go my own way and force the GPS to recompute based on the new route that I'm taking. But most of the time, if I don't know how to get somewhere, yeah, I'm happy to let the GPS do it for me. That's the whole point of having it.
So the thing that's changed for me, because I never bothered with that before, because I can look at the map and know what the best way to go is. Once they started having GPSs that do traffic for $2 a month or something that's reasonable, not $10 a month, then all of a sudden the machine has a whole set of inputs that I have no access to and have no way of knowing. Like the fact that the TomTom app has an innate sense of traffic density at not only at the time that I'm going, but also on a historical level for the same type of day and conditions, gives it dramatically expanded opportunities for routing me around slowdowns. So like learning to trust the machine and to know that, like when we went to Hiller Aviation a couple weeks ago to meet John Collins, it said, hey, you should go down 101 to get to San Carlos. Going down 101 to get to San Carlos is traditionally a really, really spectacularly dumb idea. But at noon on Saturday, it was okay because traffic was relatively light and there was no slowdown on 101. Sure. Normally, I would go down 280. And
I mean, in the Bay Area, the whole 101 or 280 split, especially going downtown, that is a critical moment where you're on 280 and you go, I can go 101 toward Bay Bridge.
And it's shorter.
Or 280 the long way by Ballpark.
Yeah.
Both will get me downtown, but one could take an hour longer depending on time of day.
See, what's happened with me, I think, is that I've become dependent. Like, because I use GPS so much, I don't develop the skills to navigate for myself, and so I remain dependent on the GPS. I know, like,
that is the problem.
Anytime I'm driving around the city, I don't need the GPS. I know the city is very small. I know it well enough that I can get pretty much from any point A to B in the city without using the GPS. Anytime I have to go outside of the city, again, if it's an area I'm not familiar with, if I'm going to somewhere new, then I'll put the GPS on, and I'm happy to rely on it. But again, you're following just what the GPS tells you and not really learning the route yourself.
Yeah.
And so you don't develop a navigational skill.
So that's the thing is I think if I moved to a new city now and was driving and relied on GPS exclusively to figure out how to get somewhere, like it took me a year and a half probably of driving in San Francisco to get a general feel for, okay, this is going to be over here and I can get over here and just kind of look around and I'll figure out how to get to where I'm going. If I was moving someplace new and just exclusively relied on GPS to get where I was going, I would never develop that, I think, at this point.
Right.
So, but let's back up to the Google goggles.
Okay.
I don't know. Like, I'm really interested to try. Like, I don't think that there's any way that any of us with no kind of like, there's no analog for this. There's no like having this level of constant interaction with phone and internet and notifications and messages and stuff like that. It's impossible to know how you're going to react to this without actually using it for a fairly extended period of time.
Depending on the execution.
Instead of this, holding my phone up to my face,
it
is just putting it down and seeing it, and my hand isn't tired.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like the next, again, providing the technology can actually deliver on this, it feels like the next logical step in, and whether or not this is a good or a bad thing is up for debate, but it feels like the next logical step in our constant immersion in data.
Yeah,
right?
well,
we constantly carry data around in our pockets. Like, and Norm says, all this is really doing is putting the phone literally right up in front of your face where it's there all the time.
What I'm interested in, because I know, I mean, assuming it does take off, and if Google puts enough money behind it, and society accepts it, it will. We're gonna have this. It's the same thing that's gonna happen with phones, where where there's phone culture, and now we're gonna have HUD culture, where people are going to walk around, you have the latest HUD, the $800 model, and you get X number of features, and then someone's going to have the crappier one, the dumb phone, the dumb HUD.
I don't know. I think we'll bypass a lot of that early stuff. Like, if you look at the state of phone cameras right now, there's no reason you can't have a pretty good phone camera on a pair of glasses today. They're small. They fit into wherever you're going to want to put them.
I expect tribalism with HUDs.
And by the way, Apple is very well positioned to come in with eyeglasses.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Don't you think?
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yes.
no, they're moving away from that. They are totally moving away from.
They were moving away from that.
No, they are
From what?
from the eye.
Really? What evidence is there of that?
I read recently they took it off some name, or
You mean the next version is
I think
called
Apple.
the Pad?
I think Apple TV, outside of the Mac range, Apple TV is the only
relatively new product.
that,
like messages and iMessages.
That's true. And calendar instead of iCal.
Yeah.
So they are like on
At
a
least
software side.
level.
It may be that the hard. It doesn't matter. Eyeglasses is kind of obvious, I think. So
yeah.
I think it's called I.
There you go.
The other stuff to note, you should watch the video.
I think it's going to happen, and I think it'll be again. We are going to be walking around with these ARG heads-up displays. I think it's just.
Do we want to make?
No.
The problem is, how do you
prediction?
interact? How do you type out? How do you? Is it just information coming
wager
into you?
eggs.
So it's a combination of. It looks like from the concept video, it seems like it's a combination of eye tracking and voice.
You'd need really good voice, right? Because everything's going to be.
I think
Google Voice.
If you look at where Siri is now and where Google Voice stuff is now, like in another generation, it's going to be good enough. Like it's like dictation. Like Siri is kind of shit, but dictation is really good.
Is it going to be
the same
this,
situation?
Is it going to be this weird thing though, where I'm like, you and I could be sitting talking to each other, and it looks like you're looking at me, but there's like a subtle clue that you're really focused on the inside of your glasses. Like you look like you're looking at me directly ahead, but you're really just reading tweets.
Well, it's going to be one of those things where you're sitting there and you're like, and somebody like glances up and to the right, and you're like, did you just check your email?
Yeah, that's what's going to happen.
No, I have a twitch.
I already think it's...
No, when you lie, you always look away from
it won't have to be like furtive glances at your phone screen anymore. It'll be...
the head twitch, right? Instead of pull down to refresh, it's nods to refresh. Yeah. Nodding to refresh.
Yeah. You can set up your own... So that's the thing, is gestures, right? Head gestures.
Yeah. Or eye rolling.
So I can be going...
I'm eye rolling to
I'm
refresh.
nodding, and it looks like, I'm really interested in what you're saying. I really agree. But all I'm doing is like constantly pulling down to refresh my tweets.
There's a whole new world of...
Oh, that's a good one. Like nod to refresh.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like...
I'm patenting it right now.
There's a whole new world of terrible gestures. Like, what if you have to nod your head in RDO to like a song? Or what if you
shake your head to skip?
No, change. Shake to undo.
Terrible. This is
shake to undo, nod to refresh. Yeah, I like it.
Eye roll for home screen.
I was going to say the sound stuff I'm less worried about because people are pretty like when you're walking around in public most times, especially if you're on your way to a train or something, you have the headphones on to avoid having to have human contact with strangers. Also, when you're talking about glasses that go back behind your ear,
that's a big problem because with glasses, the whole idea of having a HUD is that there's pass through.
Yeah.
Where if you want the information, you can have it, but if you don't want the information, you can still it's translucent or transparent, and you can see the world with sound that doesn't work as well because it's either all sound or no sound.
I'm interested in the safety issue of this as well because the whole idea of this heads-up display is actually meant to be better because you don't have to look away from the road or what's in front of you to see the information. It's just overlaid on what you're already looking at, but I can totally imagine people stepping out into traffic because they're really not looking ahead. They're looking at
it says cross the street.
Or driving.
Yeah, driving.
I don't think you're able to drive with this.
Yeah.
No, you don't say.
No, you don't. Yeah. Heads up. There's a reason heads-up displays don't really work in cars.
Well, the good thing is with the kind of inputs that this type of device will have, it'll know whether you're in the car and driving, right?
Yeah, and I think there would actually have to be some kind of law or something that says only driving-related information like GPS and speed and stuff is like you can't have your tweets on while you're in.
Well, there have been numerous studies about what type of distractions are the most distracting in the car,
right?
And even when you have radio or GPS. Having any type of cognitive multitasking required, paying attention to anything other than the road, is incredidly detrimental to your driving ability.
It's bad news.
So
I saw a guy riding the bike in the city the other day. He was riding. Didn't have his hands on the handlebars. He was just doing that thing. When you become good at riding a bike, you can just swerve around corners.
Never been
and stuff.
able to do that.
And he was he had his iPhone or BlackBerry, I don't know what it was. We had a smartphone, and he was typing on it as he was riding his bike around a corner. I'm like, you just need to get out.
You know what's worse? Even if there's no input at you, the fact that if you are being recorded, if there's a camera on you,
you behave differently.
You behave way differently. So if you're driving and there's a camera on you, you will not drive as well as if no one was paying attention.
So, I mean, there's a whole bunch of kind of larger questions about this. First thing is the UI seems like it's completely unlike anything we've seen before. It's very kind of, or at least the concept UI is very icon-y and very light. You should definitely watch the video if you haven't seen it. It's on the site. It's on Google's site. It's all over the place. The life logging stuff we haven't really talked about in the show before, but I think that's an interesting, like having a pair of glasses with a camera that's always recording puts you in an interesting place. What are you looking at, Gary?
I was just looking at my headphones look like.
Oh,
it's very distracting that I can see you and also see my own reflection.
Well, you're like a monkey with a mirror in the cage.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by myself.
I think the implications of the life logging stuff are worth probably discussing it in greater depth at some point in the future. I don't know how I feel about that. There's some real big pros. Like you see the videos of the dudes who get pulled over by the police and then get the shit beaten out of them for no apparent reason. And because they had the dash cam on, then that works out well for them. On the other hand, there's a lot of privacy concerns that come with that too. So there's no, like, it's not like life logging, like a lot of things, is not a universal good or a universal bad. But I think we're going to be in a position where people are doing it.
Yourself, you're talking about life logging for Google.
Yeah,
I mean they're in the business of accumulating information. about you anonymously, maybe,
Right.
But for the purposes of selling
ads.
ads.
I can see there's going to be it's going to facilitate also a whole new level of narcissism. Like once people have a little camera just auto recording everything, like right in the bridge of their glasses or whatever, there's going to be all kinds of 24/7 live
Can't wait for those
blog feeds.
It's Jenny Cam.
hot
People just
squared.
live streaming their entire life.
hot pink HUDs and accessories, charms for your HUD.
The Chan Cam after dark.
Oh my god!
No, I'm not talking about content. I'm talking about actual physical glasses. I'm talking about charms and accessories and.
Are you going to go
bumpers.
super minimalist, or are you just going to? I mean, and then how long before you just have the camera embedded in your skull?
Oh, so that's what it needs to be. It just needs to be a nose bridge.
right here.
I mean, the thing,
nose bridge.
The key is
Right in the
they have to make the glasses as inconspicuous as the ones that we're all wearing now. Because the same stigma that people have walking around with Bluetooth headsets dangling off their ear.
Yeah.
I feel like that's going to apply to these glasses as
And
well.
that never caught on.
Well, but the first two, the thing is, Bluetooth headsets aren't that useful, and they were always kind of shit. Like they never like.
Well,
I
okay,
stopped,
yes, but
I
they
stopped
had the cool factor of Bluetooth headset back in 2000, 2001.
2002. Bluetooth took off.
2002, the cool factor was awesome. You're talking about
Yeah,
the
but
Motorola ones,
it became
looked
douchey
so
very, very
cool.
fast.
Right, and then it became limo drivers and cabbies and drug dealers. It was like the beeper. The Bluetooth
and now
headset
just
is the modern day beeper.
everybody.
Yeah.
You just there's no really kind of like demographic breakdown of Bluetooth.
Well,
you see all kinds of people use it,
but
but nobody looks good doing it.
The problem with the Bluetooth headset, though, is that it is an inferior solution in almost every way than just plugging in a cable to your phone and plugging that in your ear. Like the sound quality is worse.
Well,
having to have another thing to charge is a pain in the ass.
Everything you're
And-
saying about the Bluetooth headsets applied to a HUD.
Well, what I'm saying is, if the HUD improves your quality of life or your makes you better at living, then people will use it. If it doesn't, then it's another Bluetooth
it
headset.
really needs killer apps.
I only use my
Right.
Bluetooth in the car. I don't feel comfortable walking around with it.
I use Bluetooth to connect to the speakerphone in the car. I don't even use a headset anymore. I just
Well,
use a
yeah, I mean,
wired headset.
you just whatever is hands free, but like I don't have to feel self conscious
Yeah.
about walking around with a Bluetooth headset.
No, that's exactly. Have we mined this as far as we can?
Do you want to put
talk
eggs
more?
on it?
No, not yet. I want to see some prototypes. I'm really pissed that I didn't buy tickets to Google I/O again because I'm sure they're going to show them there.
$900.
I don't care. Worth it.
Sold out. Well,
It sold out in 25 minutes. I
Yeah.
couldn't the site was down and I couldn't buy tickets.
Wow.
So I
HUDs for everyone.
yeah, I was there at 6:00 in the morning,
Bees
whatever
and
time you're
HUDs.
supposed to be to sign up for that shit, and you couldn't get in. Speaking of tech tribalism, Instagram came out for Android this week, and there's been so Instagram, if you don't know, is a kind of idiot-proof photo sharing thing that's been on iOS for
very
a year and a
popular.
half or 2 years.
It's not
now.
just it's the most popular, by far the most popular photo sharing and photo filter app.
Yeah, part of the reason why some people like it and don't like it is it's one of these apps that allows you to apply, what have come to be known as these kind of hipster filters that will wash out your pictures, make them look like they were taken with an old-fashioned camera.
Yeah.
and
built-
other filters
and
as well.
It is successful not just because it filters, because it wasn't the first few filters. Hipstamatic was the first.
Hipstamatic was the first
was
one.
the first few filters.
Well, the first
Hipstamatic-
popular one.
But then
Yeah.
Instagram added the social sharing aspect.
Yes, and it was free. So
Yeah.
Hipstamatic was a free app, but you paid for the filters, and it got in the way of you taking pictures, because while you could take pictures with the app, it tried to have the skeuomorphism. Like it tried to, when you ran
They
the
had
app,
buttons and dumb stuff.
had buttons,
Yeah.
and the viewfinder was shrunk down, so it looked like
Yeah.
a really small pinhole
Yeah,
camera.
Instagram took the idea and did it better.
And it was just straight up filters on top of your pictures, because when it was released with the iPhone 4 had a decent camera, but again, not great pictures. People aren't great photographers with the camera phones.
Right.
iPhone 4 is the number one photo sharing or camera on Flickr,
Right.
on top of all DSLRs and
That's
point
just
and
because
shoots.
of consumer product diversity.
Okay, it's
though.
what everyone has.
It's
And also
what
because
everyone
it's
has.
actually a decent
Yep.
camera.
And Instagram capitalized on that and let people share it. So it had its mini social network. It was smart because there's no website. You have to use the app to look at your friends' pictures.
Yep.
And you keep all your pictures within that network. It had the whole like system, and it was iOS only. So I don't know the exact user count. It makes no money. There's no advertising, no way to buy.
Right.
You
filters
can buy
or
more
anything.
filters, can't you?
Cannot buy more
Really?
filters.
Yeah,
They
so I
have
don't actually know
static
how
number
they
of
make
filters.
money.
Question mark.
They don't. No, they don't. It's
No,
all
I'm just
investment right
saying
now.
it's photo sharing plus question mark equals
the-
profit.
Yeah,
Right.
the gnomes are there
Yeah,
somewhere.
underwear pants. Underpants gnomes.
But it is popular because it is free. And the people who love it are very, very into those filters. Like when Instagram 2.0 came out, I think last year, there was a user revolt because the filters with the same names didn't look exactly the same. They were worse, and then they had the backpedal. It's a very small team,
and you've been very anti-filter, just in generally, right?
I am anti-filter for the purpose of taking photos to commemorate your occasions.
Right.
If I'm going to a WonderCon or a Bricks by the Bay, right? I am not going to take Instagram pictures of the awesome things I saw there as a way to remember.
But the good thing about Instagram is you can take a picture in the regular way and still have the original, and then have Instagram do a filtered version, but still keep the original version.
I think people walk around these days with their phones and say, "Oh, that would make a really good Instagram picture," and I don't like that.
There is something kind of ephemeral about it, right? Because they don't really get stored. I mean, they don't really get stored anywhere. You can pull them off the phone. You can access them. You can view them through a web browser, but it doesn't really. It feels very like just like here's a quick snapshot. You're not going to keep your memories this way.
Exactly.
It's what you use. There are other ways to do that,
right?
Yeah.
And I'm totally fine with it being used that way.
That's kind of what it is. It is kind of like the Polaroid of
Well, I mean, that's what phone cameras kind of are.
That's why they have the frames and everything.
But you can get some very pleasing effects with the various filters.
Yes, and the Lux ability, which is built into the newest version of Instagram.
What is the Lux?
It's the auto enhance, auto contrast. I think it's a really good algorithm.
And they've added tilt shift and some other stuff as well.
Yeah, I don't like fake tilt shift.
Tilt shift is the new hipster filter.
Is the new high.
This is the one that actually bugs me at the tilt shift.
I hate the horizontal tilt shift.
You can get great effects out of it, but occasionally it just makes pictures look worse.
I hate the artificial depth of field, the circular tilt shift. The circular blur. Because the iPhone actually has decent depth of field. It has a pretty wide aperture of 2.4. You don't need that if you focus properly.
Right.
And that the blur is actually pretty jarring. I mean, you have
the big
people using it.
The big story this week is that Instagram took a very big and long-awaited leap forward by finally releasing an Android
embracing
version.
the larger market.
Yes,
and Android users, because there are many Android users, they have had no Instagram. And they have alternatives, but they've wanted Instagram.
If you search for Instagram in the Android in Google Play market for apps, whatever it's called now.
Oh, one of our top traffic pages on our site was a story that Ryan wrote about Instagram alternatives for Android, and it's still very highly trafficked because those people want filters.
Yeah,
and they want to be part of that
network. And they want sharing. Yeah. So it came out for Android.
Yeah, and I instantly got a huge. My follow count doubled, but suddenly all these new people that have had their noses pressed up against the glass for the longest time, just because they pick one operating system over another. Now we can all be together.
And it happened because obviously there's the Twitter and Facebook tie-in. So if you're Twitter friends or you follow someone, you can follow them. It's they're all the same social network.
And when you when you post a picture to Instagram, you can share it out to Twitter or Facebook, and then it takes you back to a link that says, "Hey, this was shot with Instagram, the awesomest photo sharing utility on iOS."
Yeah, it's very smart.
Now, the creators of Instagram didn't deny Android users the app intentionally. It was as a byproduct of how many resources they have.
It's a very small team, right? They said they're not making money. They must be running this thing on a shoestring.
Fewer than a dozen people, and their problem was that the community expanded so quickly that they spent basically the first year half refining their iOS app because that's where the core users are, but also scaling, buying servers, and getting the whole system to support millions and millions of users.
Yeah, I mean, even just doing customer service on 100 million users when somebody has a lost password or something like that is a terrifying amount of the amount of work we've had in the last 2 weeks doing customer service on people who've had trouble with the tested transition.
Right.
I can't it terrifies me to think what you would have to do to manage 100 million users.
They've been struggling just to keep up with the iOS base, and I'm sure even though they may have had an Instagram app ready for some time, you don't want to roll that out until you feel like you can scale up and support
millions
because you're basically going to be doubling your potential user base.
A million people downloaded it in the first day for Android.
Right. Yeah.
And so they showed it at South by Southwest, released it this week.
Actually, I want to go back to that for a sec. Sorry. On the other hand, if you were Google, they should have spent money making sure that these guys could make Instagram come out on Android.
Yes, it would be.
Absolutely.
Let us provide you with all these resources.
Yes. And who cares about favoritism? This is valuable to their platform.
And I'd be if I was Microsoft, even more so. I'd be like, what do you guys need from us?
And we'll talk about that when we get to hardware this week. But currently in Windows Phone, third-party apps cannot use the camera.
That's
cannot tap into the camera API.
Yeah.
So they're actually locking out the potential to have Instagram on.
That's
their
why
service.
there are no third-party camera
Right.
apps.
I'd be the
Camera
opposite,
Plus.
man, because you need those killer apps, right? Here's what I would do if I was at Microsoft running Windows Phone. I'd say, like, what are the 20 apps that everyone talks about that people expect? So it's like Netflix, Instagram,
Kindle,
whatever, Angry
Pandora.
Birds, Kindle, the
Pandora.
Twitter, the main ones. I'd be like, do we have these? If not, I go to those developers now, give them what they need to get those apps on this
problem
system.
you can just throw money at. If you're a small developer, and even if you're a big developer, even if you're Pandora and you have a 100-person team, but maybe 5 people working on the mobile side, if Microsoft came to you and said, we really want Pandora on Windows Phone because it's not there and it's on Android and iOS, and here's $100,000 for you to do it, it's not like you can just take that money and immediately churn out a Windows app.
But
you want control of your ecosystem and your app and your software.
But on the PC side, what happens is the hardware vendors and the software vendors who make cool technology and want it implemented in, say, games, pays for a developer to go sit in wherever.
Yeah, that's
like
what
when
I'm saying.
Rocksteady implemented physics in Batman, NVIDIA had dudes that were on
it's not
site
just-
helping
Exactly.
them
It's
do
not,
that.
it's not
like
just about
adding
throwing
features.
money, but it's about
about an entire
support and
platform.
liaising with these developers and
and-
giving them
and
what they
I-
need
there
to
are
get where you
absolutely
need to be.
developer liaisons and community managers. There are people who do that.
Absolutely.
But it's not like the physics and the
So Microsoft developed a bunch of apps for Windows Phone when they launched Windows Phone. A lot of those apps for third parties, like Yelp and things like that, used APIs, publicly available APIs that they built off of. Instagram probably doesn't have an API.
I think the last thing Pandora wants, though, is for them to outsource development of a Windows Phone 7 app.
They shouldn't. I guess what I'm saying is there's a happy medium between outsourcing and just saying, hey, here's a whole shitload of money, make this on Android in exchange for this money.
It is absolutely something that would help the platform.
Yes,
I mean, we all agree on that.
That if you have an app problem, getting better apps on your platform is the way to solve it.
So
anyway,
I would just like
you
to
were
say,
gonna
someone. Sorry, go ahead.
I cut off Norma ages ago, so
Oh, no. So Instagram came out for Android. Android users are using it.
They're jumping on board. This is what
they
they've
are
been
liking
waiting for it.
Now, I think they are using it not for necessarily the filters part of it. They're using it because now they can see the
sharing.
photos.
It's
a sharing. It's a community because the app, that ecosystem has grown to a part where it's sustainable. It's self-sustainable. I think that if it wouldn't be such a big deal if it came out on Android a year ago. I think holding it back helped Instagram. Whether it helped the users or not, it's debatable.
I don't know about that.
I think that launching on one platform, focusing on one platform and creating a success there is better than releasing on 10 platforms and it being
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
Look, they scaled it out within their resources. I think that's fair enough. I just want to say, as someone who is often accused of being quite partisan in my tech,
I've never heard that before, Gary. About you.
I mean, it's nonsense, and I'm happy to disavow people of that notion. I just want to be clear about this. When it launched earlier this week, I personally was thrilled. I was very, very happy to see it come to Android because I believe very strongly in cross-app communication.
Yeah, the best apps are cross-platform. They work. They should I should be able to switch from iOS to Android to Windows Phone to whatever, and have the same apps.
We shouldn't be in our own little ghettos where here's all the iOS users with their Instagram, and here's Android over there with their version of it, but we can't cross-pollinate. We should all be in together.
Everything's better if it all talks together.
Now, you know what?
In the same way that if, let's say you've got a PlayStation, I've got an Xbox, we can't play games together, and that sucks.
Yeah.
So it's much better if we can all play together.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
So I just felt like, this is great. There may be many friends out there of mine who I would like to see their Instagram pictures, but I cannot because they don't have the right phone. Now those Android people, I'm interested to see their pictures, and also I think also interested to see what kind of pictures come in now that they're going to be taken with a much wider variety of phones, right? Because once you get into the Android world, there's a much wider variety and quality selection of the kinds of phones.
Well,
that are
I
in
know
those
where you're going
cameras.
here, and I will let you get to that. I'm just going to interject saying I think it's hilarious that some of the iPhone advocates, and I'm not taking your point, they've done the side-by-side comparisons of, I have a Galaxy Nexus, and I also have an iPhone 4S.
Oh,
and look,
boring.
And look, the iPhone 4S filtered version of this photo is so much better than the Galaxy Nexus filtered version because the iPhone has better camera. That is the stupidest thing I think you could do, John Gruber, because the whole point of putting a filter on is that you're making the photo worse anyway.
Well, but
Boring.
again, I don't agree with that. I don't think you're necessarily making it worse. You're making it different.
You're making it worse. You're losing information.
If you're
you're changing the information.
You're losing information when you put those filters on.
Again, I think this is whatever.
If you're using
whatever
the
in the
Kelvin
end,
filter
whatever
and-
in the end creates the most pleasing effect for you, that makes the picture look like the way you want it. Who cares? Like it's just a personal taste thing. You don't have to put a filter on.
I know.
So what does it matter?
No,
We're talking about two different things.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so but what happened after Instagram came?
Oh, so it was disappointing that a lot of and it's entirely possible that the media has made more of this than really needs to be made. But the point is that there are a lot of tweets, a lot of messages from iPhone, Apple zealots going, "Oh my God! Like who let these people in? Instagram sucks because all these Android trolls and subhuman people. We don't like them. We think Android users are less than us, and they're going to drag Instagram down." And it was exactly the kind of tribalism, exactly the kind of divisive, kind of segregationist talk that I despise. And I think I shame on you.
Well,
those
in the
iPhone
same-
and Apple snobs who somehow feel like the Android people don't deserve to be in the same tent as you.
Yeah.
You people are idiots.
It was a lot of ignorance.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Those stories are created entirely by the media to generate page views.
Well, they're not created. I mean, they didn't make those tweets up, but
No.
they are seizing on something that doesn't need to be a big deal.
I'm going to tell you it is really easy. You can find somebody on Twitter or on Facebook who hates anything that you want them to hate. And because the internet is so big, you can probably find 20 people that do that and make a story, manufacture a story that looks like there's a massive number of people saying really horrible things about whatever you want.
Who the heck is Bonnie Bear?
I don't know what. Yeah, exactly. Right. Or, hey, Will Smith shouldn't have slimed Justin Bieber at the Kids' Choice Awards last week.
The point is whether or not it's
Fucking
exaggerated
asshole.
or amplified by the media, these people are out there. And I think that...
There's assholes everywhere, though. I mean, literally, there are horrible racists everywhere. There are people who are elitist about things that are idiotic to be elitist about.
And by the way, here's what makes it a total non-story. You don't have to follow anybody.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like suddenly your feed's going to get jammed up with crappy Android phone pictures. And again, there's no reason to believe why an Android picture would be crappier than anyone else. Somebody said to me quite rightly, the photographer has more of an impact on the quality of the picture than the camera.
Obviously.
So if you don't want Android people, quote unquote, shitting up your feed, guess what? Don't follow those people.
You know what I do? I troll Instagram because I take photos with my mirrorless camera.
And then Instagram them?
Well, they're on PhotoStream.
Right.
So automatically
then you
goes
can
to my
import that,
phone,
apply a
import
filter.
that.
Yep.
I'm not using it as a way to make my phone's pictures better. I'm using it as a way to share pictures.
Yeah.
Right.
And so why not? Why can't I use my
that's absolutely
DSLR
right.
mirrorless camera?
So one thing I would be interested, because I'm just curious, would be now that it is available in lots of different formats, if when someone takes a picture or I go to their profile or whatever, I can see what flavor they are. Like this was taken on a Nexus, this was taken on a 3GS, whatever it might be. I can see where that picture, if I'm interested in the source of that picture.
You can do that on Flickr. I think probably that kind of stuff will come to Instagram
Well,
at some point.
this is where Flickr failed.
Well, Flickr failed and a lot of other... That's a whole different topic. It's a massive converation to have.
It's an interesting piece of metadata, though. It's right there in the in the EXIF data. I can see what kind of camera that picture was taken on.
Yeah. Last thing on the Android Instagram. Sorry,
It's a year of Insta.
it's
remember?
the
Last
year
year
of
was a year of
Insta,
Insta.
yeah.
Instacast, Instagram,
2011,
Instapaper.
Insta year.
Yeah.
The Instagram for Android. Interesting to note. I saw Josh Topolsky from The Verge, who I guess has an HTC One X, the latest greatest HTC Android phone.
Until next week.
Doesn't work with Instagram.
Ah.
Instagram does not support. So
Fragmentation.
still a problem. Well done, guys. I did a lot of reading this week about caffeine. I learned a lot about caffeine and caffeine, relative concentrations of caffeine overdose.
This is preparation.
Caffeine sick. And yeah, we're going to SCAA in a couple of weeks, which is if you recall from last year, Joey and I went to Houston to the Specialty Coffee Association of America show. This year it's in Portland, which is much more awesome. Norm, do you have clothing with birds on it? Are you ready to go?
I actually do have clothing with birds on it, but they're all old.
Okay.
Not old enough to be vintage, just old.
They're in the aging period.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go to specialty.
Yeah, exactly. I have shirts that I wear for like 6 months, and then I put in a barrel and bury it, and then it has to be aged 20 years.
Yeah, exactly.
To be vintage, so that I could bring it out again and then wear them.
Yeah, 50-year-old Norm will be ready to go.
Yeah.
So we're going to SCAA. Norm, but let's talk about this for a second, because I think this is interesting. And you normally drink coffee with cream and sugar in it.
I drink it with
or cream and Splenda.
Cream and Splenda, correct.
As do I.
Right.
I use stevia.
Same difference.
No, it's totally different
sweetener
product.
is what I'm saying. Yes, it is a completely different chemical. For all intents and purposes, sweetener is sweetener.
Stevia is not a chemical; it's a plant.
Still a chemical in the plant that makes it taste sweet to you. The upshot, though, is that the big culture shock moment for me when I went to SCAA last year, and basically, if you've never been to a coffee show, it's an amazing, miraculous journey into coffee discovery, because everywhere you go, people hand you cups of coffee. They're like, "Hey, you should try this. You should try this."
And I know you had this issue last year. How do you get out of there without basically, being taken out on a stretcher?
There's a limited number of meetings you can take, and you learn to just taste. You ask for samplers rather than full cups.
How do you palate cleanse?
It's lemons and crackers and water, soda water.
I mean, can you not do it like an enophile and
you
spit it into a bucket?
You can spit if you want, but I mean, I feel like that's wasteful. And
carry a water bottle.
You could do that.
Okay.
I mean, here's the thing: it's a small show by CES standards, or even like. It's like a Bricks by the Bay size. It's bigger than Bricks by the Bay, but not much.
But you did get kind of jacked up last year, didn't you?
The first day I overdid it, because I went in, and it's like when the kid goes to the candy store that his dad's friend owns. He's like, "Oh, have whatever you want. It's all free."
Right.
And the kid goes fucking completely bonkers, and then you have a super hyper kid that crashes real hard.
Yeah.
I did that last year on the first day. And literally, Joey and I got back at so you walk in. The first thing you see is this thing from Coffee Commons, and they're standing there, and they're making. There's like 4 espresso machines, and there's the best baristas in the country making coffee and letting you try whatever you want. And they'll say, "Okay, here's a Rwandan, here's a Colombian. Try these next to each other and see what you think." So you shot of espresso, macchiato, and next thing you know, you've had like 14 cups of coffee.
Yeah, and when you've had too much coffee, it's not a pleasant experience.
No, it's bad.
You see the world with clarity. Unlike
no.
It's not
like
about clarity. It's
just
it's
high anxiety.
It's like
the only one here who's had.
It is kind of like feeling really highly strung.
Black Blood of the Earth.
I've had Black Blood of the Earth. Thank you.
Yeah, we did it at Oktobercast.
We all had it at Oktobercast.
We all have it?
I didn't have it.
I've had 2 vials.
You couldn't handle your shit, which is why you don't remember the rest of us having it.
I don't remember half that day.
So yeah, you learn to pace yourself very quickly.
Okay.
You drink beverages. You drink like froth milk beverages, espresso beverages, so you get a little bit of fat and other stuff. You make sure you don't skip lunch at SCA. That was a disastrously bad
protein.
idea.
The first time I had a really bad too much caffeine trip, a friend of mine at the time who was a big coffee drinker said, "Eat some protein."
Yeah.
And it'll somehow bring you down. And I did. I ate like 2 cans of tuna fish, and I was fine like half an hour later.
Exactly.
2
cans of tuna fish. Holy shit, dude!
Carry the little kind of chicken of the sea.
I'll carry one of those pouches with me. So
just bring around like some chicken legs or some roast beef or a protein bar, and if you feel yourself getting like too much caffeine, that'll fix you right up.
Just whip a hard-boiled egg out of the backpack. So we're gonna go a couple weeks. Norm, are you prepared to go someplace where you cannot put cream and sugar in your coffee?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
You gonna be able to do this?
I would. I would just bring around a little flask of half and half.
You would if you want to be shunned, that is a good way to do it.
They'll put it in your
So
hoodie,
all of these, none of the people at this coffee convention believe in.
Well, here's the thing. No. The point of the whole thing is, if you're buying coffee at Target for $6 a pound, it doesn't matter, because you're not going to take you have no taste differences. What the cream and sugar do is even out the flavor, so you get something that tastes like coffee but doesn't have depth or complexity, right? Putting cream and sugar in a nice single origin specialty roast coffee is the equivalent of putting ice cubes in your wine.
But it's like whatever.
This is not a convention about different coffee types. It's about coffee technique.
No, here's
equipment.
SCAA is the coffee convention. So it's everything. It has everything from like high-end $7,000 home espresso machines
to like in Green Hornet
to not that specialized, but all the way down to like commercial stuff. Like commercial espresso machines are there. Commercial brewing pour over Hario will be there. All the way down to like
Nespresso there.
Nespresso will probably be there.
They have like a really sad corner where people is that like this?
Well, it's 2 shows. So there's a gas station coffee, like those people are there, the people that make the banana chocolate, whatever horrible thing.
Non-elitists.
I'll probably hang around there.
Cup of Joe.
The
coffee.
syrup.
That's where I want to hang out.
The syrup people are there.
down
the
to earth.
grinders. There are dudes like there'll be 5 or 6 people that make machines that basically will bag coffee for you. That like weigh
It's
and
everything
bag
to
and
do
seal
with
the coffee.
coffee.
Everything to do with coffee. And then there's this whole other part that's the contests. So there's like there's Barista Championship where they make espresso beverages. There's the Brewers Cup where they do things like the cone and the pour over and the French press and that kind of stuff. There's roasters of excellence. There's cupping. The cupping contest is the craziest thing. Cupping contest is where they put
I think like that.
well, it's not that kind of cupping. It's to taste. It's what roasters and buyers do when they're figuring out whether they want to buy coffee or not, basically, and how they want to blend it and what they want to make. So for cupping contest, what they do is they put out, I think, 10 sets of 3 cups of coffee. In each set, 2 are the same and 1 is different, and they have to pick out the one that's different in each of the 3 cups.
How do coffee,
by tasting?
How do small coffee shops shop for their coffee? Like how do buyers buy coffee? Like let's say like a chain.
Like well, Starbucks has people that go to Costa Rica and Colombia and all the places that you grow coffee, and they buy stuff. There's auctions, I think, is the way that works. I don't know exactly how this works. We should get Mark Prince on sometime and talk to him about this.
I want to know what the auctions are like. If there's a warehouse in Colombia where the rep from Starbucks bids on like the year's supply of a certain type of coffee.
So there's a bunch of different places you can buy coffee. You can buy it when it's green from the farm. You can establish a relationship with the farm and just buy their entire crop. You can buy it in green bean form at the auctions. Green beans, I have some in the other room if you want to see what they look like.
I mean, like when you're dealing like the Starbucks or like the level of a company like Folgers or whatever, like they've got like massive supply chain type operations.
Yeah,
right?
they own the
deals
farms,
with, like entire farms. Yeah,
they like Nestle buys most of the product of Vietnam. Is my understanding.
Right,
Like,
they're dealing in serious volume, and then you've got like the little gourmet roaster type places that are probably just going off and dealing with like individual suppliers.
Yeah. So like the thing that Ritual does is I'm not entirely certain, but I think that they go to like the actual farmers and make relationships with them and buy certain crops and stuff like that. There's a lot to it. There's whole workshops on that stuff. There's all sorts of like classes and workshops where if you want to learn how to go be a roaster, or if you want to learn how to
well, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's a fun show. There's a lot to learn. I'm excited about that. So not really as preparation, but because it's about coffee. And
I've decided
beverages.
I'm going to start drinking Hawaiian coffee.
Really?
Kona. Yeah.
Because it's the only coffee made in America?
Because as you pointed out, it's the only coffee made in America.
Yeah.
You can't so you can't
So you
roast
say buy
coffee.
American.
You can't grow coffee beans here in the continental United States.
Well, the solution
Hawaii is the only corner of America in which it's done. So that way I feel like I could, support American businesses.
Annex another country, another territory.
Yeah.
It's the only way we can do it.
You're saying buy Colombia? That way we get the Coke and the coffee all at once.
Yeah. They're in our pockets anyway.
So that's so bad. So I read a lot about caffeine and caffeine toxicity and overdose and all that stuff. Because there was a story a couple weeks ago about a girl in England who worked in a coffee shop and had, I think, 14 espresso shots over the course of a day, and then had to be hospitalized because she kind of zonked out and had problems.
Yeah, I mean it's a real drug.
Caffeine.
Yeah.
Don't OD on caffeine. Did you not
bad.
see the Save by the Bell episode?
Was that caffeine?
I'm
I
so
thought she had
excited.
speed then.
I'm so scared.
Yeah.
It wasn't caffeine. It was
no dose.
Yeah, she was like on diet pills or something.
No, it was caffeine pills to stay awake. Jesse.
Yeah,
She had to study.
Yeah.
She had Tiger Mom.
It was a message episode.
It was a very special episode of Saved by the Bell. It was Elizabeth Berkley's finest performance, I think, also. Although maybe the whole nine, or the Al Pacino football movie was better. Anyway, I learned a lot about caffeine toxicity. Basically, you have to have about 2 grams of caffeine. Well, it's I think it's 150 milligrams of caffeine per kilogram of body weight. So that means for somebody my size, somebody who weighs about 100 kilograms, 220 pounds, I would have to drink something like 6 gallons of coffee or 5 gallons of black coffee. Part of the thing that came out of this whole research I did was that the caffeine concentrations are not at all what I expected in normal beverages. So like a cup of black coffee can range anywhere from 100 milligrams of caffeine to 200 milligrams of caffeine, which is a lot. Like that's a wide range. It has to do with the beans, the roast, the species of beans, how they're prepared, all that, how it's brewed, how long it steeps, all that kind of stuff to see how much extracts. The interesting thing I learned is that soft drinks are really low in caffeine typically.
Yes, they are. Far less than a cup
like
of coffee.
a Mountain Dew.
A Mountain Dew, which is the in the nationally marketed, widely available soda beverage has what is, I believe, the legal maximum, which is I think 75 milligrams per 12 ounces of soda, and it's like 75 milligrams of caffeine. It's nothing. An espresso shot can range pretty wildly too. But it had a higher concentration than soda or brewed coffee. Because the thing that's interesting, the thing that gets dangerous about caffeine is not really the amount you can drink. Because like coffee, you can't drink enough to kill yourself. Basically, like your stomach doesn't hold enough.
Yeah, it's a liter.
Your stomach holds a liter more or less, and you can't drink enough in the time period you need to. You could do damage. You can make yourself really sick, but it's hard to kill yourself. I was interested because things like 5 Hour Energy have about the equivalent of a cup of coffee in a much smaller volume.
Yeah.
So, but still, you'd have to drink, I think, 5 liters of 5 Hour Energy to reach, or I would, to reach my toxicity point
for the median.
For your there's a whole bunch of other math.
Yeah, well, before you would actually would be chemically poisoned, but you would be in a very bad place emotionally long before that.
Yeah, it would be like you'd have to goose funnel. You'd have to have the funnel, and it would have to be
So
like
what
some
you're
sort of
saying
saw
is you
situation.
didn't test this.
We did not test this.
No.
I'd have to chain
please
you
don't.
to a radiator like Sam Jackson.
Right. And you
ain't right yet.
and you
Did you just black snake moan?
Yeah, I just black snake moaned Will.
wow, my forehead's not that high, man.
Oh my god!
I don't have that high a forehead. Jesus. So I thought that was interesting. The caffeine toxicity stuff. The relative concentrations were more interesting, I think, than the toxicity. If you want to stay awake, then don't drink soda. That's the lesson. And energy drinks like Red Bull, Monster, most of those have about the same concentration, same amount of caffeine per serving.
Yeah.
The thing that changes is the volume of the serving. So like a Red Bull serving is 8.4 ounces. A Monster serving is actually about the same, about 8 ounces.
And you know,
there's just 2 of them in a can.
Right.
So
the novelty stuff like the caffeinated soap and stuff like that, nothing.
well, it depends. The caffeine pills, like No-Dos, each pill is equivalent to a cup of coffee, basically.
Soap, which you rub on your body with caffeine.
The soap does nothing.
Nothing.
But the mints varied wildly. I didn't get into that because there's too many of them. None of them are really very common.
Talking about like truck stop coffee, I've noticed that when you do, oftentimes when I drive on the freeway, you stop at like the big, truck stop travelers waypoint, and they have the huge selection of stuff, and they have the big coffee machines, and they have a lot of energy shots and drinks because that's obviously truck drivers are interested in staying awake.
White crosses.
That they do one of the coffee options you often see in the big machine is the double caffeinated Mega Jolt type coffee, which I tend to stay away from.
The Be a Man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you remember Jolt Cola when that was a thing?
Yeah,
How much caffeine was in that?
Jolt Cola had 1 milligram more than the legal limit,
Right.
so it was illegal,
Wow.
breaking the law.
But still not as much as a real cup of coffee.
A normal or a single espresso shot.
Yeah.
It was a very interesting. I'd never really looked at that before.
Why do they even put caffeine in soda? Is it because they want you to get like an energy, like feel like it makes
like you? It's
there's
carbs,
no taste
so you
benefit
have,
or anything, right?
No, it's totally the illusion. I mean, so you have energy.
So the question I have is, at the turn of the last century, Coke had cocaine, or maybe in the late 1800s, probably. Coke had cocaine in it to give you that kind of pep up feeling.
Right.
My question is, if 150 years from now, they'll be looking back and say, "Oh man, I can't believe people are mainlining caffeine. I can't believe you used to just be able to buy this in soda."
Or just simply the fact that there's 40 grams of sugar in one of those cans. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Right. Well, that's a whole other topic.
Don't drink soda, kids.
Yeah.
Don't drink soda.
Don't drink juice either.
Yeah. Don't drink fruit juice. It's bad for you.
Yes.
That's all. Just a little PSA moment there.
I want to go back to SCAA. So we will be in Portland. The plan for us to be in Portland when that happens. It's going to be in about 2 weeks or so. But we're also looking for other things to do in Portland.
I found some stuff
when we're there.
I've done some looking.
Okay.
The Reed reactor, the Reed College Nuclear Engineering Department has a working student-run reactor. So I'm going to reach out to those guys and see if we can go visit that.
Can we throw a wrench in it?
No, I don't think we want to do that. I think that's unwise.
Okay.
I think it's
like a real energy generating reactor.
I think it's a breeder reactor, so I think it's something you use to turn one thing into another thing. But I'm not sure. I haven't looked into it that deeply. But I think Reed College is also where Steve Jobs went. So went to school when he went to school. So
we are looking for things to do in Portland that may be interesting. If you know interesting people or know
Ground control also is important.
I've been to ground control.
Is it cool?
It is okay.
Is it worth shooting a video there?
There's a lot of PBR and DDR.
I like PBR.
No, actually, only one DDR machine in the corner, and a lot of PBR.
I'd be
they have, like,
interested
weird
in going
Japanese
to,
games?
I'd be interested in doing like the Portland. Somebody should set this up, like do the Portlandia
Sure,
tour.
there's a tour.
I'd want to go and see or go to all the most hipster, crazy
Could be a
places.
scavenger hunt.
Probably Kyle
Can we
MacLachlan runs that.
We can do a scavenger hunt and see if
Mayor
we
of
can,
Portland.
the checklist of.
The only thing I don't want to do is wait in line 3 hours for brunch, because that is not.
But you want to go by and take a picture
I
of
don't need
yourself
to go
in
to
the
Portland
line.
for that experience.
Yeah.
I've got that right here on my
Yeah.
doorstep.
Norm, you did some looking into the caveman and fire situation. There was some new research that came out this week as well.
Yes, new research and also some insight from a reader of ours.
Yeah.
So
Daniel.
a popular topic of discussion on this podcast is
It's one of our first science talk topics, really.
is when did cavemen figure out that cooked meat, putting food in fire was better
Burning
than
food is better than eating it raw.
eating-
So
Yeah.
you're
Eating it
saying
raw.
you're looking for Prometheus.
Yes.
Okay.
That was the title of the story. The discovery from this week wasn't directly tied to that, but it did bring to light that cavemen, or Homo erectus, probably, hominid.
Filthy.
You said erectors.
Thank you. Got to get out of the way.
And
Here
homo.
all week.
Had
Terrible.
Brilliant.
Thanks a lot. Had access to
Oh.
fire in their caves much earlier than initially believed. And I think there was a cave in South Africa where they dug into the sediments of the cave and found traces of ash and bone in a place where wildfires could not naturally have reached. So in this,
But how do they know that somebody didn't firebomb the cave?
Because they carbon dated it and.
I'm saying a caveman.
Oh no! I mean that's saying they had access.
You
to fire.
took a wife.
Well, that's that.
Boom.
It wasn't proof that they actually used that to cook the turtles. They could have eaten the turtles raw and then thrown the bones in the fire for some reason.
Yeah.
But-
Throwing bones in a fire is fun.
Yeah, but they had access to fire about 1.4 million years ago, and previously
This is like 800,000 was the
it was
previous
like
record, right?
800,000 when they found those hearths with in their caves.
They found the what?
The stove things.
The hearths?
Hearts, that's what they're called. I don't know.
Hearths.
Hearts. They're
We always
hearts.
called them hearths.
Yeah, I think that's
I guess
how you
that's right,
pronounce it.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. But
But they could have been using that just for like, I feel like when they first figured out fire, right? Like again, like there were lightning strikes and natural fires, they would have discovered fire before they even figured out how to make it.
Right.
The immediate benefits of fire, I think, present themselves as warmth. And
Heat
and
and light.
and as a light
Yeah.
and as a weapon. Right, you could make a torch
Yeah.
with it and like poke someone with it, and they would make them.
Or
run
just
away.
probably if they don't like it looks like
It was
some
plus 10
horrible
damage.
magic. It's the Arthur Clarke thing.
Right.
Like if
But
you don't
again-
know what fire is and somebody else starts waving something that
Right,
burns
that's magical.
It has
that's,
light.
yeah.
I mean,
Right,
the thing
that's-
that is in the sky.
So it has all these
a laser
benefits.
gun.
It does seem like magic. It's all very
Yeah.
beneficial. The question is, at what point and how do its transformative
Right.
powers over food become apparent?
So it's probably less. I mean, the use of fire for food and for warmth probably predated the ability to create fire by a long shot. So cavemen probably went to wildfires, naturally occurring wildfires, and huddled around there.
Yeah.
Right.
Or took those fires back to
And
the
they
cave.
took a smoldering brand and figured out,
But
hey.
the cooked food was probably done accident. So scientists have, archaeologists and anthropologists have assumed that the cooked food wasn't done in the caves. They saw wildfires, put food in the fires, ate it there, and then went back to their caves.
Well, and part of the thing that I'm going back and looking to
but
see
again,
what
at
the
what
guy's
point did
name
they even
was.
figure out? Hey, look, maybe we should put the food in the fire.
at what point question is very unlikely to be answered.
Yeah.
But we're still waiting. The other insight that a reader sent us email, I think I forget his name, but
I'm
he's
going back to look right now.
There's an old movie called Quest for Fire, which is all about this. It's about cavemen.
in
Daniel Connor, who's an archaeologist in the UK, basically said that the reason this happened in a lot. I'm going to grossly oversimplify his email, but it's posted in the Prometheus story as well. And he basically said that they think that people preferred body temperature meat because they were used to like killing something and then just gnawing right off the carcass.
When it's
So
still
the
warm, when it's
initial
still warm from its own life.
exactly.
Right. So one of the theories, because there's many, was that the initial cognitive leap of, hey, fire's warm. We like meat warm. Let's put meat next to fire. Make meat back to the tasty room temperature instead of body temperature instead of room temperature was the initial, like, that was the jumping off point for burned meat tastes better than raw meat.
Right, because we did. The other thing that guy pointed out, I think, is that we did obviously eat raw meat for many years, and in fact we still can, except we're really more conditioned now to eat cooked meat, so that raw meat it doesn't. But like I enjoy a nice steak tartare.
Well, yeah, the thing is, if the meat is fresh, like if it's freshly slaughtered, and assuming there's no parasites or something, of course,
right,
then there's no digestive harm to eating raw beef or raw pork,
right,
aside from the potential parasite problems.
But us eating cooked meat also helped development of our teeth and our bodies, and our stomachs didn't have to process the raw meat.
Well, and it let us store food longer too.
Yes.
So it means that you can kill something on Tuesday and eat it on Thursday instead of kill something on Tuesday and then have to kill something else on Thursday. So you suddenly have a lot more time to do other things, like play Xbox.
Yes.
Still maintain that
Xbox
if
One,
we had
it would have been caveman
cavemen.
Yeah.
If we had time machines, we would go back then.
If we had time machines, what we'd do is first go back to see when they first developed fire, and then we'd send an ad agency back with an iPad and record the caveman using the iPad.
Of the things that
let's be honest,
we should have lists of, including your enemies list, and we should have a list of the exact times that we would go back if we had time machine.
Well, I read I finished a Stephen King book about this.
I have that on my iPad. I bought
it. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Like I'm real up and down on Stephen King, because I don't really like the horror and the macabre and all that stuff. But I really like the weird science fiction stuff that he does.
It's
sometimes
speculative. It's like
I mean the premise is something I hadn't seen in a time travel story before though.
Which is what?
Really?
Yeah. So the setup is there's a hole in the universe that goes back to like 1958. When you use it, you make changes, you come back to the present, you see the effects.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go and use it again, all the changes you made disappear.
Because it's the
and
same
it resets.
spot.
It's
so
a one-way.
You're always jumping back to new timelines.
Yeah. So every time you go, like if you want to make the same changes, you have to do the same things over again. If you want to save somebody. So the upshot is the guy goes back in time to try to save Kennedy. Yeah, it's Groundhog Day. He goes back in time to try to save Kennedy, and the whole story's about that. It's quite good. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Highly recommend.
Okay.
It's Butterfly Effect.
It is Butterfly Effect. Yeah. He writes reasonably compelling characters as a general rule. So 12. What is it? 11, 22, 63,
58 or something. I don't know,
no,
68.
Yeah.
60, whatever.
American
Kennedy,
History Channel.
Yeah. Hey, that's not taught in UC schools. You know that?
Really?
Did you not hear about this? I don't want to get into politics talk. But
fake outtakes.
Okay, we'll wait for that.
We talked about Dyson sphere, dismantling Mercury to build a Dyson sphere a few weeks ago.
Oh, so
and there has been controversy.
Yes, this is another popular topic. Another classic science talk segment where we love this idea of
brought to you by Relics,
a Dyson sphere, right?
Yeah. Why are we talking about this again?
Oh, because there's recent controversy about how we'd actually. I mean, people are trying to propose a Dyson sphere, saying it's much closer to reality than previously thought, because it's something that we couldn't even fathom before. The idea that you can have a swarm of solar collectors around the sun, so you harness basically 1 billion times as much energy.
Yeah, I like that idea.
As lands on the Earth right now.
And we don't
From
even
the
use
sun.
all that energy.
We don't use a fraction of it.
Yeah, I mean, the surface area of the Earth, the sun hits 50% of that. At any given moment, and we collect a small fraction of that.
Yeah,
either
we should be getting much.
Well, there's
more.
passive, like there's heating of the atmosphere and keeping the oceans warm and all that. Like we're not a big ball of ice.
Yes, but
we don't utilize that energy.
But if we were to surround the sun with not a solid sphere, but a spherical swarm,
yes, we need a solar pipeline from the sun.
How
back
could
to the
we
Earth.
do that? Right.
Yes, I want to solve.
One,
that
you would
problem.
need a lot of materials to do that, because we're talking about mass array of solar
So
collectors.
hold on, we talked about this before.
So
dude proposed von Neumann machines, which are self-replicating machines, dismantling Mercury, and building a series of solar collectors.
All you can do is one, create a machine that can self-replicate. That's within our.
No, we've never done that. We can't do that.
We can imagine it.
It's like nanotechnology. It's a future concept.
Robots that build robots is something that if we spent 50 years developing, we could have it.
Yeah, but there's a lot of robots that build themselves are a completely different thing than robots that build other robots. Robots,
Sure.
a robot that harvests material in a raw form, processes it into something that can be turned into a robot, and then poops out a robot is a complex thing that is well beyond our current technology.
Sure. Agree.
Now, the hack that the guy in Oxford had was that he said the von Neumann machine should be a kind of thought construct, not an actual machine, but a people that replicate people, the old-fashioned way, boom chicka wow wow, and then use their hands and brains and stuff like that to break apart Mercury and build more little spaceships that they can go out and use to build the solar collectors. That was what he described as a von Neumann machine. It was like
sending a cast of people.
Yeah,
to be the robot
slave
builders.
race, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and because brains are cheap.
He said it wouldn't. He just to be clear, he didn't advocate using people for this. He said that this was the way we could do it using today's technology. It would require significant commitment on humanity's part.
But the idea is that if we disassembled the entire planet of Mercury over time, using 50% of the planet's mass, we could build a swarm of solar collectors to create a Dyson sphere.
Yes.
Oh, I see. So you mine the materials to build this stuff out, and so you have to ship all the materials out.
So you ship maybe a small fleet initially of robots to Mercury. Right?
Get the mining
started. Get it started. Build with a few solar collectors to start, and then you have one solar collector to start. The energy from that takes a long time to accumulate because solar collectors are very inefficient. Maybe at most 1/3 efficient. Right, 2/3 of energy collected is waste. Somehow wirelessly transmit that back to Mercury. The robots of Mercury build more robots. Then those robots build solar collectors, and over time it escalates, and you get this.
And then they all come back and invade.
Yeah,
which
because with superpowered ray guns.
That's the real concern. Is a self-replicating robot army with infinite energy supplies. I don't feel
what
good
could
about
possibly
that.
go wrong?
I don't feel good about that at all.
Keep a switch; it'll be cool.
Yeah,
the math
you just
doesn't
pull the
add
plug
up because of the inefficiencies of solar collectors, solar panels.
That's changing.
Wireless energy transmission.
Microwaves
or lasers are.
The bad thing about microwave laser transmission is that the robots don't even have to come back to wipe us out at that point.
They just shoot the energy.
They just aim the beam at whatever they want to blast.
Yeah, it's like a big magnifying glass aimed at Earth.
Right.
That's right.
I don't like the sound of
We're
that
the
either.
ants.
Yeah.
P.S.
But if this were to happen, I think we'll eventually need that energy. Once you reach, singularity level.
I think solar is going to be the ultimate key to long-term energy on Earth, and I think it's going to be, it's not going to be blanketing the world.
Guys, I don't want to alarm you. It's coal, man. But coal is the future. Dig deeper, guys.
It's not going to be bootstrapping.
Drill, baby, drill.
Burn those ferns.
All the energy is from the sun.
My new slogan for the coal industry. Burn
in
those
one way
ferns.
or another. It's not going to be bootstrapping
not nuclear.
Dyson sphere technology to power the growth of the future. We're going to be there, and then we're going to have that technology, and then get the Dyson sphere.
Yeah, you can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
So Dyson sphere controversy. This is I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. There's been a draw something controversy, Gary. You have after waxing rhapsodic about the fun of draw something over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
you've completely expunged it from your life.
We've been talking about almost nothing else because it's been a lot of fun. But it had been becoming less fun. Maybe, and I've heard this from many other people as well. Maybe because a few of us in our excitement started up too many games, and it actually started to become a bit of a chore. Turning on your iPad and it was like, oh, you've got 8 drawings you've got to do for people.
It's why for those kind of games you gotta disable notifications,
right?
And play in your own time.
And the real problem is because of the slightly limited vocabulary, you often find yourself drawing the same thing over and over, and it gets boring. Right. But the other thing that happened was, as I'm sure many people may have seen, there were a couple of things that the CEO of the company who recently sold to Zynga had done that I just found kind of distasteful and just didn't make me feel good about the people that made this game. And so, I decided, who needs it? I was getting bored of it anyway. I'm going to delete it. I don't want to.
So you're saying it wasn't?
I just chose not to support the game.
It wasn't really a sacrifice for you then to expunge this from your life.
I had the luxury of making a moral stance because I was, like I said, I was kind of looking for a reason to dump the game anyway. Because I was like, I really car wash again. I have to draw another car wash. Come on, guys.
So when you have to draw a car wash the third time, like the first time I did car wash, I made the little building with the spinners.
That's what I did.
And then the next time I did a sexy car wash with like a bunch of people in bikinis outside washing cars.
So you can have the narrative
I classed it up
within
a lot.
the meta.
I was trying to figure out that when I have to draw a word for like the third or fourth time, do I just keep doing the same drawing and like perfecting that one version, or should I try and have a different approach every time? But like, I feel like that's not a creative.
That's a bad game.
Problem that's interesting. Yeah, they desperately need to expand the.
I think you need
the
to be
dictionary.
rewarded. I mean, so much of the game is already based on just the honor system.
Yeah,
and having
You mean not writing
friends.
Monopoly?
Yeah, I think there should be a rating system to share interesting drawings and not just the final drawing, but interesting process of drawing. So if you drew a super elaborate picture, but the word is a hat. That's really cool, and I want to be able to share that animation with people that aren't not just the two people playing that game.
We should make a game,
and then people can vote on that, and you get extra points based on that.
We should call it Draw Anything.
Yeah. So I mean, look, there are certain things in life. You try to be a good citizen of the earth and abide by moral principles and not support people or companies that you don't like their behavior. Like, I would never stay in a Donald Trump hotel or endorse any of his products or in any way feel like I'm contributing to his success because I think he's an odious,
but you buy Apple stuff.
Awful individual. Yeah, what about it?
Well, the manufacturing concerns. I mean,
well, we've had that problem before, and again, if you're going to make that stand, then you have to be prepared to say, I'm never going to buy another product manufactured in China.
It's why Gary drinks Hawaiian coffee.
Okay, fair enough.
It's why I choose to drive an American car. It's why I choose to wear American-made sneakers wherever possible. Well, these are German. But I bet like going
better than China, I guess.
Going forward, I buy like New
racist.
Balance and things that are made in America, and I like to try and do that and not support bad things whenever possible. And the draw something thing is just one very small corner of that equation. There's too many games out there to play that I feel like I should play the ones that I don't like.
It was just something. I mean, obviously he had his reasons for lashing out on Twitter. But if you just sold your company for $180 million, and as much as you want to give props to your team and the people who put effort in that, because they, as OMG Pop, spent a year making games that weren't successful until this was a smash hit.
Man, a whole year?
Well, they spent, yes, it wasn't that long compared to other developers who've spent many,
the story
many
of
years.
Modest Mouse.
Exactly. There are better ways. There are more tactful ways to do that.
Yeah. I mean, you're trashing your former employees on Twitter publicly and calling them weak and we're better off without him, whatever. And obviously that was the big backlash, and that's why he had to apologize. He actually had lost me before that, though. This thing, like a week earlier, saying games can be socially relevant. We've added the word hoodie to our dictionary. Please share this.
Oh, that's terrible.
Now, and this is in the midst of the Trayvon Martin controversy, which is a very serious story in the news. And... that's either just spectacularly crass and misjudged, or an attempt to just kind of piggyback onto a big media story, like trying to get your game out there. Yep. And either way, I just thought it was atrocious, and I have no interest in supporting that kind of company.
Moving on.
Yeah.
U.S. The latest U.S. Lego Master Builder?
Master Builder.
Lego
Master
has been named
Model Builder.
Model Builder.
Model Builder.
No, Model Builder. Master Builder is the ones that design the kits. Model Builders work as ambassadors.
Model Builder, I think.
No, just Master Builder. That's what the story said. Yeah, it was
Okay.
one or the other. I couldn't remember. Oh, sorry. Master Builders are in Denmark. Model Builders are in the United States.
I think
This is what your story said.
Master Model Builder is the full title.
Okay.
Anyway, it's an official title, which is why we're making a big.
He's been named.
It's not like you can walk down the street and say, I've paid $2,000 for the UCS Millennium Falcon. I'm a master model builder.
He's named after an American president, Andrew Johnson.
Okay.
He's 23 years old.
That is incredibly young.
Visual arts student.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, there's a whole bunch of Gladstone shared something with us this morning on Twitter that I watched a little bit of and then had to get ready for the podcast. But it showed the process for becoming a Lego master.
Yes, a slot has to open up. The position has to open up.
So you have to kill somebody.
Well, retire someone, is what I like to say.
Wow.
Someone has to be retired.
Games Chan.
And then
Blade Runner.
The hunt begins. The search begins for the next Lego.
So it's like the Dalai Lama of Lego.
Or the Pope.
Guess, right? Did they have white smoke come out of the chimney?
we have a Lego.
There's like a little cloud of Lego smoke.
We have a builder.
Fumes.
And the people in the U.S. they're like secondary to the master model builders in Denmark because they don't actually get to design the kits. When you watch those videos,
those are all Danes.
It's all Danes. The ones in the U.S. are half ambassadors, but they also construct the sets that go to Disneyland and the Lego stores.
You are right. It is Lego Master Model Builder.
Yes, Lego Master Model Builder. It is an awesome job.
It does seem like a pretty rad job, and it seems like it's for life, or as long as you want to do it.
We went to a
it's
thing.
justice.
Leah and I went to a thing at Hillsdale Mall where our local Lego store is, and they had a master builder there, and he was building like a 10-foot Yoda. And people could help. You could take some bricks and build like a small piece of it, and then he would take the small piece you had constructed and apply that to the bigger model.
Did he tell you what to build?
It's
or
not
did you just build something?
He would give you. You would take a little tray of pieces and a little mini instruction sheet that told you how to assemble that into a larger piece.
Yeah.
Which then he would then
that's
take
awesome.
and apply to the larger
and
model.
it's not about doing it all by hand yourself. Michelangelo didn't sculpt.
It's about having the vision.
Yes, it's about looking at a giant pile of bricks and then seeing how those can fit together. Not just to look cool, but also be stable and safe and be a sound Lego model.
So his original application was a stop motion video.
Yeah.
Which, given the kind of popular, I did a story about this last week. We'll talk about that in a little bit, I guess. But yeah, given the popularity of Lego stop motion, it's it's a good fit. Like they brought him on. It seems like to kind of modernize the community outreach portion of Lego.
You need to get out there and do a video with one of these guys. These guys are like the John Collins of Lego. Like, I think it could be equally fascinating.
I think we
could have a challenge.
That is a great idea.
Like,
Gary.
get 1,000 Lego pieces and say, hey, Will, build a harp. And then this other guy will build a harp that's much better.
Yeah.
Pretty
Or
much.
he could give us challenges and then judge us.
I want to see him build.
I want to see him build too.
Yeah.
So yeah, Andrew Johnson, congratulations.
And we say him, but the very first Lego master model builder was a woman.
Really?
Huh.
I don't doubt that. Lego is for all genders.
And why not?
Yeah.
Right. A 12-year-old lands the first 1080 skateboard trick. This guy is named Tom Shar. He's 12 years old.
Yeah.
It's kind of bullshit though.
Well, yes,
I watched the video. No, that's not a slight controversy.
No, technically, he did pull off okay.
So let's give a little history.
Okay.
Tony Hawk, 20 years ago, did the first 900.
1999, which is 13 years ago.
When I was young, did the first 900 degree spins. What this means is one spin is 360 degrees, 2 is 720, 2.5 is 900.
Which previously was thought to be, in competition at least, done during
impossible.
X Games. Impossible. There had been footage in 1989 of someone doing it, but Tony Hawk dismissed it as saying the footage cut away right before the landing, so he fell.
He probably ate shit. Yeah.
And Tony Hawk did it in 1999. It was amazing. It's one of the reasons
1989.
why 1999 is when Tony Hawk did it.
Oh, I thought it was 89.
99. Tony Hawk's not that old. He's only 40-something. He's 42.
Okay.
He did it in 1999. There was no X Games in 89.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And that's part of the reason why there are Tony Hawk games.
Yeah.
Is because he was the first to do this.
Man, I do a lot of 1080s and 900s.
That's also the problem with
Tony Hawk games.
In video games,
it's just real easy.
Yeah,
you just get up some speed and put some points into spin.
And this kid did a 1080, which is 3 full revolutions.
Yes.
Off of, I think it was called a mega pipe or something.
It's the biggest pipe in the world. It's not a competition half pipe.
No.
Which is what Tony Hawk did the 900.
Now, the kid did it on this pipe. It's in Tehachapi.
It looks like a downhill ramp.
It's in
really?
Tehachapi.
We should go visit.
How is this technology related? Or
Because
science?
of physics.
Yeah.
Is it?
So
Okay.
he went down a 75-foot...
like a ski jump, basically.
Right. It was 75-foot downhill, then a 50-foot pipe, and up another 30 feet. And he was basically 15 feet in the air. And he was it's a tiny kid, 12 years old. And the question, the science part of it, is that is it easier for a kid to do a 1080
because of body construction and muscle mass and stuff like that?
Absolutely. And the logical answer is no, right? Because the adult's going to be stronger, and just because he's scaled up, physics is physics.
But this is one of those things that, like when Lance Armstrong had testicular cancer, he lost a lot of upper body weight. But because he was working out and stuff, he was able to keep his lower body strength really high. So there was a theory for a while, I don't know if it's true or not, but one of my bike friends told me this, that he had a big advantage in bike racing.
Lance Armstrong has an advantage because he can process oxygen like a mutant.
But the decrease in upper body weight reduced the amount of mass he had to push with his lower body weight. This is what one of my bike friends told me. I don't know if it's true or not.
Giving us massive likes.
Cancer was good.
The
For
video.
Lance
The video
Armstrong.
is awesome.
Turned into a
The
positive.
kid. I mean, regardless of what
It's a terrifying
height looked
ramp.
Like, yeah, the ramp itself is terrifying, but he can ride down it relatively easily, and he can do a 1080. And
But it's not. It's kind of bullshit.
It's not
though.
in competition.
It's not in competition. It's not on a competition ramp. Like it's not. It is a stunt, not a thing.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of world records and what have you, I was very impressed by your most recent of the paper plane
The final
series videos,
Collins video.
where you actually see the world record paper plane throw. I didn't know what I expected the world record paper airplane throw to look like, but it was not that. It was.
Did
it
you
was
expect the
staggering how
parabola?
far it goes?
Yeah,
That's what John was
the bell
explaining.
curve.
The previous world record one was
'Cause
sheer
it's
strength.
it's the glide down
That's-
where you really get the distance,
and
right? That's
in
what's
all
amazing.
The design.
Yeah.
Well,
the
and-
previous one just went straight up and straight
Yeah, the
down.
people threw it up at a 45-degree angle, and it
And
just
chucked
bombed
it.
down at the other end.
This one, because of and we're going off topic, but
I'll get ready.
because the angle is different on the front of the plane, the middle of the plane, and the back of the plane.
Yeah.
The speed it's going at, because it's fast initially, it's slows.
I mean,
at
it
the
just
top.
takes so long
it
to
uses-
come down. That's really where you get all your
Well,
distance.
the thing that John said, and I think it was in the video, I can't remember, but the thing that was interesting to me is that different portions of the flight,
Yes.
based on the speed, use the lift comes from a different part of the wing, so it changes its flight characteristics throughout the flight. We got to throw the plane.
Yeah.
It was really cool. I've never thrown a paper airplane 100 feet, but it was like my throw. Maybe not. You released a little early, Norm.
If the ceilings were higher, things would have been different. If there was no Wright brothers plane, things would also have been different.
Yeah, I would have hit the wall pretty easily, I think. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. It was great to meet John.
And
He was a good dude. We'll have to have him back sometime.
and after all the amazing designs that he's made, I was surprised to see that the world record plane actually appears to be a very simple.
8 folds.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing you didn't see was that the amount of tape that you're allowed to have on the world record toss was cut up like with a crazy precise X-Acto knife into 14 tiny little pieces.
Yeah, yeah.
It was
very interesting.
yeah. It was one of those things. Sometimes when you pick up something that's very precise, you kind of don't want to touch it because you're afraid you're going to mess it up.
Mm-hmm.
And this was very much one of those. Like when I threw it and it landed on its nose and the nose crumpled, I was like, oh God, I'm so sorry.
Just make another one.
Well, you think that, but he carried them in like these big plastic boxes, like the kind of thing that you
Like
put
the
your Christmas ornaments
Yeah, because they probably
in.
take like a
Yeah,
while to
yeah.
make.
Yeah, he
Get
has
them
a special
exactly right.
tool that he uses to do the
yeah.
folds precisely.
Yeah, and he
It's
said
called
that
that.
he said that if he doesn't get one exactly right, he'll throw it away and
just
start over.
straight in the trash.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
Chloe-
it's not like the materials are expensive.
No,
so
no.
It's good.
We discovered that Chloe Bananas likes to chase paper airplanes too. Because I threw the Norm paper airplane, the one that he taught you how to make the other day, and she completely lost it because it didn't behave like a ball. She thought it was a ball, but it didn't work like a ball. So,
Back up.
we were talking about the 1080. Oh, let's skip the. I'm done with the 1080 thing. Move on.
Watch the video. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Neil deGrasse Tyson had an interesting story. Story came out the other day about nukes and asteroids.
Right. It's the same thing he talked about in his TED Talk. And if you don't know who Neil deGrasse Tyson is,
He's the host of
You
Nova,
should.
right?
I don't know if
among
he's
other
hosting
things.
Nova. He's like kind
He's
of
an
like
astrophysicist.
He's an astrophysicist. That's kind of like the spiritual successor, at least in pop culture, for
I think
Carl
of him
Sagan.
as the Carl Sagan of our time.
Some people would disagree, but
There's always people that disagree about everything. That's what we learned.
He's getting a lot of attention, rightly so, and he's bringing science into mainstream culture, which is awesome. And he wrote this column about killer asteroids, and there
Like
are
the one that killed the dinosaurs?
well, possibly. There are many space rocks that hit the Earth every day that just disintegrate in our atmosphere. NASA can't track them all, but what NASA does want to keep track of are the ones that potentially could impact us. And these aren't. It's not like a rock is flying, across the galaxy, will wander in our solar system, and then hit Earth.
No, it's the
Rocks that are spinning around the sun.
Yeah,
part of the asteroid belt, with weird orbits around the sun.
elliptical usually.
Elliptical, yep. They, on some passes, will come close to Earth. And there is a point where NASA can track and say, okay, if it's within this line, then the Earth is a point of no return, and the Earth's gravity will alter the asteroid's orbit enough that on its next pass, it will hit us.
Well, there was another thing that I read this morning that I haven't written up yet, but I'm going to, that said basically we always have more than one moon. Like we think we have one satellite, but there's always a couple of asteroids that just got hooked in and spin around a few times and then blast back out into deeper space.
So how do we get, and I think the asteroid that NASA's looking at right now, Apophis, has a chance of being affected, falling into this danger zone in, I think, 20 years or so.
And the traditional pop culture remedy is to fire nuclear weapons.
Bruce Willis,
right?
man.
Right.
And Sean Connery long before that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in Deep Impact. And not just fire nuclear rockets, because there was the classic example. Do you put a firecracker on the hand, or do you put it in the hand
so
and blow it up?
You want to get
Robert Duvall. Don't forget about Robert Duvall.
Yes.
Space Cowboys, man. That was
well, like I said, Sean Connery was the original in Meteor. Yeah. He was the first one to... Because that was actually kind of interesting geopolitically. It was like made during the Cold War. And the Russians and the Americans, the only way to destroy this asteroid was if the Russians and Americans could be convinced to fire all their nuclear weapons together at it.
Like in Superman 4.
Yeah. And the danger was, what they realized was the weapons were actually, they did have no weapons in space, but they were pointed at Earth because they were meant to be used in global, like SDI space war. And so they had to turn the weapons outwards and fire them out into space to destroy the asteroid. But it didn't work. They broke it up, but it still hit us pretty bad.
So the bad part about firing a nuke and this all came out during the best summer ever when both Deep Impact and Armageddon came out.
I remember it well.
97?
It was a good time.
98, I think.
98, yeah.
Well, the trailers are out in 97.
Yeah, the problem with firing a nuke at an asteroid is you don't really change the course of the asteroid. You just make a whole bunch of little pieces, which have the same cumulative impact, and also now they're irradiated. So kind of all in all, it's not a good idea, really. It doesn't work like in Armageddon where it splits into two chunks, and one chunk goes right and one goes left, and everybody's like, whew, that was close. Too bad about Bruce Willis. Spoiler alert. So explain the gravitational tractor, because this is really cool. I've never heard it before.
So basically, you have another massive object that gets sucked into the asteroid's gravity well, and then they attract each other because that's how gravity works. But then you fire rockets on that object and pull the asteroid off course.
So basically, you have the thing that we send up, the tractor, and the asteroid and it move a little bit closer to each other constantly, and then you use rockets on the thing that we send up to make it be further away.
And you basically have a bungee cord tied to the asteroid, a bungee cord of gravity.
Wow.
Connected to
Why
the
not
asteroid.
just use a real bungee cord?
What do you think the current NASA / DOD contingency is?
I'd say there's probably some deep bunkers someplace.
Somewhere in I'm talking about like whatever, deflection, destruction plan. They've got to have a plan to fire something at an asteroid. Or
do you think that really?
They have to.
I don't think.
There's somewhere in a safe
NASA
that
only
is sitting. There has to be.
Well, we don't have a strategy. We only recently developed a strategy for looking for stuff that could potentially hit us.
Yeah. The best strategy is one, to find it so we know
way
timeline,
in advance.
Way in advance, and then two, to study it so we know the material that makes up the asteroid. Because if the asteroid is made of ice, then
no big deal.
Then different from irradiated rock.
I know it all sounds very science fictiony and it sounds kind of too fantastical to believe it's. But don't you think that again somewhere in the deeper echelons of the U.S. government, whether it be NASA or the Defense Department or even kind of like the executive level, there has to be, like, if an alien did really land tomorrow, or if a big asteroid seriously was coming at us, like in a movie, there has to be. They can't just start thinking of a plan now.
Well,
there has to be something sitting there for even the most crazy things to that we can never ever really believe. Like, okay, a flying saucer just landed on the White House lawn. Somewhere there is a real first contact protocol for what to do.
You break out the green folder.
Yes, something is written down somewhere for how to deal with that. It was
probably written 20 years ago or 40 years ago.
40 years ago in the 60s,
right? When people cared about that stuff and not updated.
I figure that they're probably like the first day you're president, you have this the mother of all briefings where like all this shit comes out, like Area 51, real, not real.
Mr. President, here's what you need to know. Yeah,
everything you need to know.
Book
By the way, we discovered this asteroid
way above your pay grade.
We learned 35 years ago that in 42 years there's an asteroid going to hit the Earth. There's nothing we can do about it. We have a bunker prepared in Wyoming. Like that.
Plenty
kind of stuff.
of movies that are coming out about the scenario where
disasters.
It's too late, and what would people do on the last 2 months on Earth or something?
Wasn't there a James Strange Days? Wasn't that about that? Like the end of the world?
No, Strange Days was just a Y2K kind of thing.
There was the Lars von Trier movie, and then there's the Steve Carell movie.
Oh yeah, Steve.
There's actually more than that. There's a whole bunch. There's one called like Last Night on Earth or something like. There's a whole bunch of people dealing with the end of the world.
So back to the gravitational attractor. It takes a long time, right? Like that's like a multi-year process. It's not something you can just fire up and blow the nuke and Bruce Willis saves the day.
The point is, we are at a point in our civilization where if we put our resources into it and if the whole world worked together to stop our annihilation, we should be able to do it.
Assuming we weren't the cause of our annihilation in the first place. Sure. Interesting. And then the last thing on the list is Amazon Video on Demand is out for PS3. I haven't downloaded it yet.
Really?
I haven't yet, but I want to check it out. We have Prime, so I'm curious to see. There's often a lot of quirky, interesting stuff on Amazon Video that you don't see in other places.
Go working?
No, I haven't.
No, although apparently Comcast is.
No, I mean,
you mean Xfinity?
Xfinity TV.
Oh, I got Xfinity working.
I stopped trying. I'm so
still,
pissed off.
after my rant last week about different kinds of content, how it's fractured and fragmented on different services and different screens. I had like the worst experience with that the other day. I was trying to get an episode. I was a few weeks behind on 30 Rock. And I thought, okay, I'll catch up on my 30 Rock episodes. But I was enough episodes behind that like the first one that I would need to watch to start catching up had already like fallen off the on-demand menu because it only keeps the last 5 episodes. So I go onto Hulu. Oh, sorry, this content's web only. Yeah. Okay, so I got to fire up the HDPC to watch it that way because none of my other regular Hulu device services will work on the big screen.
Yep.
And it's just just so annoying.
That web only versus
Apple TV and pay 99 cents to rent just
$3.
Except they don't do rentals anymore. That's
they
why.
do.
Nope.
Well, you buy the thing for $3. Who cares? It's $3 versus $1. Your time is worth.
I'm only going to watch it once. I shouldn't need to buy it for $3 when I've already got all this host of services, but they're all telling me for one reason or another
that's
some
true.
Technicality I can't watch it on their service.
The idiocy, the fallacy of the HTPC and the this is web only thing is one of the most ridiculous. Arbitrary. Like
it is ridiculous.
That HBO Go works on the iPad, but if I plug HDMI into the iPad and plug that into the TV, it doesn't work. Is idiotic.
Yes, absolutely. And this is exactly what we were railing.
We
about
did this last week. Yeah, let's
it's
move
annoying.
On. I'm going to. I think we should talk about what we've been testing, unless anybody has anything else to do. No.
Let's do that.
No other news this week. Oops.
We have had a busy week of testing things. Let's start with Paper. Paper by 53. I used this some. We did a quick look, app of the day for it the other day. You have your Cosmonaut there, Norm. Yep. You seem to be ready to write. Mine is arriving today. I'm excited.
You're excited about the Cosmonaut now. So dismissive.
I was wrong. I'm comfortable. However,
I like being right.
I know. It must be nice.
Yeah.
There's one huge problem with Paper because it's really neat. I drew some really cool stuff last night. Like I drew something that I think is so good, I'm going to actually submit it as a threadless design.
Wow.
Like I'm really pleased with myself.
Well, it's not vector art, so.
Well, I'm going to have to. Magic has to happen. But why can't you just export an image to the camera roll?
Can't you?
No, you can send it to Twitter, Facebook, or email.
Email.
Can you do the screen cap?
You can do screen cap. Yeah,
but
it's high resolution enough. The screen caps can be 20.
Okay, I guess that's
48
probably screen
by
cap's probably
36.
Thank you. But there should be an export to camera roll. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. What I've discovered is that Paper is so convenient that I am creating these notebooks. I think 10 pages is really. I have like notebooks of drawing faces because I'm trying to teach myself to draw, and so I'm just drawing a lot of faces.
Oh, those are good faces. Nicely done, Chen. Yeah, I have one for. I made a T-shirt after I had. Is that me?
I don't know.
I don't like where this is going. It's a neat app, but it needs to be able to export more places, which is and like save to Dropbox would be rad.
Yep.
Anything else we want to talk about on Paper? We did the quick look. I think that speaks for itself. You should watch it.
I mean, there was an article that came out earlier this week saying that apps like Paper are the big next generation. Will be the big this generation of popular iPad apps. Like
based on what?
Based on like content creation, and it's the screen being good enough.
Finally, high enough resolution, and and more importantly, the digitizer being high enough resolution.
Right.
But it's just a sketchbook, isn't it? I mean, what am I missing?
It is, but because we're dealing at 2560 by 1538 or whatever it is now, you actually have enough fine grained detail to draw something that looks good.
Even when you're drawing with your finger.
Yeah, because it uses smart stuff to make your finger look good.
I actually don't know if the digitizer is high resolution on the new iPad.
It has to be. There's no way it can't be.
Well, math. math and just make it. I mean, maybe it was already that high resolution.
It could have
screen
been, yeah.
just-
And then the pictures
if
just
you
look
if you
shitty.
shine a bright light at your phone or iPad, you can see the grids of the digitizer, and you can still see like the spacing.
The
between
grid.
lines. Yeah.
A
It's all
magical
math.
world full of Tron and things. I need to memorize with that because we say grid all the time, and I feel like it's. Anyway, never mind. I watched Tron the other day when I was using those Sony goggles. We talked about that already. Gary, you had a Mac problem, and you went to the Genius Bar.
Yeah, it's not really the most interesting story in the world.
Okay,
but
move on then.
It was International Backup Day, wasn't it? Like a couple days ago.
I mean, if nothing else, this story is worth telling, if only as a cautionary tale for anyone out there who doesn't have a backup solution. Please back up your stuff.
Anything that you think is valuable should be backed up.
So my and this has happened to me before, even on when I had a PC, it was a similar problem. The problem with mechanical hard drives
was much
is
worse, as I recall.
Yeah, it was much worse. But so on this one, the other day, my Mac's been. I have a 2009 iMac, so in dog years, computer years, 3 years is pretty old, and it started to be acting a little bit jankily, and I wasn't quite sure what it was. I was thinking about maybe redoing the OS from scratch to kind of clean everything out. Could just be clutter, just system getting old.
Yeah.
And then I started to hear the dreaded
That's never
noise
good.
from the hard drive.
No.
And as soon as you hear that kind of mechanical stuttering, that's the drive on its way out.
Yeah.
And you'd better start backing shit up.
Well, hold on.
because it's going to go.
It's worth. There are some drives that are loud and make clicky noises all the time.
Yeah, but when
you hear
start hearing
unusual
noises.
noises.
When you start hearing loud noises that sound like really like an engine kind of sputtering and coughing at you, that's not good.
It's interesting you say that because that's one of the things that worries me about having SSDs is that you don't have that mechanical sound. They're always silent.
Yeah, but aren't they also much less prone to failure?
Not
because
necessarily,
they don't
no.
have
The
moving
failure is
parts?
most likely in the controller board and not the actual memory.
That's true. But yeah, so it's but you don't have the warning sign. Like at least with the clicky clacky hard drive, you get the oh shit, I better back up. It seems like something's going bad.
So what I do is I have like triple redundancy. As you said a few years ago on my PC, I had a terrible fatal hard drive crash, and I had no backups, and I lost a lot of. I was able to recover some stuff off the hard drives, but a lot of it was just lost. And from that point on, I became very anal about backing up. So I back critical files back up offline to Dropbox. I have a time capsule time machine that just takes every hour. It basically takes a complete snapshot of everything that's on the system.
Default Apple backup.
Yeah, and it's seamless. It's happening in the background. You never see it happening. It's very easy. You can.
There's some problems with it, but mostly in the restoration stuff.
You can go in there and pull files off any time. And also, if you have a complete system crash, like I did, so my system died. The hard drive was going down. I was able to pull some files off there just urgently because I also have a second hard drive, just a third-party one, that I just a la carte pull files off, like my pictures and my music and any crucial stuff I keep there as well. So I've got like mega redundancies, but so the machine died. I was like, oh, great. So I set up a Genius Bar appointment, take it in. They diagnose it. Yeah, your hard drive's going down. I have Apple Care, so they're going to replace it for free. So they took it away for a few days, got it back on Monday. They basically had it over the weekend.
Yeah.
Got it back. But again, this is one of the reasons why I like Apple is that if you do have the service contract, they will take very good care of you. There is a place probably not far from you. There's Apple stores everywhere. You can go down the street, give it to them.
If you're in a big urban city, there's
if you're in
Apple
a large
stores everywhere.
city.
If
So
you live in the middle of Tennessee,
So
like
we
my
have
parents do,
we
it's
have
2
like
hours
5
away.
that are all within 15 minutes of us. So I drive to the closest one, make an appointment. They take it in on a Friday afternoon. I have it back Monday morning. And when I get it back Monday morning, because they had to replace the hard drive, so basically it's a completely fresh system.
That's
all my
always
data's
nice.
gone. Plug it in.
Yeah.
Hello, would you like to start as a new system or restore from a time machine backup? Time machine backup takes a few hours, but then my system is basically, with a few caveats, the way that it was.
Yeah,
and all my files come back.
The only
And
things
I like that a lot.
The only things you have problems with are things like Photoshop activation and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
even
so
that's
there
usually
were a
okay.
couple of activations that I had to redo. There's a few other things like it wants you have to log back into a bunch of stuff. It's not complete. It's not a perfect snapshot, but in terms of all your files and settings and everything basically being the way that it was, it's pretty clean.
It's really cool.
And like again, whether it's Apple or Windows or whatever system you have, just back up your stuff because one of these days it's going to happen.
We have a backup guide.
Do we have a recommendation for free piece of software to image your hard drive? Primary drive?
The Acronis stuff that I think
not free,
Symantec bought isn't free. I don't know that there's good, easy to use free tools.
What does Windows have built in that's a good? Do they
Windows
have a
there's
good
Windows
auto backup
backup.
solution?
Windows backup is okay.
Yeah, which is just fine. Like that's good if you're plugging an external hard drive. If you want to upgrade from there, I think the home server stuff is really nice, but it's like a pretty substantial jump. It's like
Given how
$500.
cheap hard drives are these days,
They aren't actually.
Well, I mean, they were for a while. I'm sure they will be again. It's worth the investment. Get a hard drive. Get an external secondary hard drive that you can plug into into your computer that's separate from your main computer, and have whatever software that you use, whatever solution, whether it be manual or you have like an automated thing that does it on a schedule, back everything up to a second drive. You will.
And you know what?
You will. One of these days you will have
Most
cause
people
to be
have
happy about
so
that.
many USB ports on the back of their computer. If they're building a computer,
Yeah.
they never use because it's using the front hub or something. If you have like a motherboard, an ASUS motherboard with a USB 3 controller, get a USB 3 one. Have
That's
the
what I
software
have,
run,
yeah.
and it's so fast.
And I feel great just knowing that it's, for some reason, just knowing that it's a totally separate drive that I can always plug into another computer very easily.
Yeah.
It makes me, because I remember when my PC died and I had everything internal, I had to send off to Newegg for one of those internal hard drive docks so that I could pull the drives out of there because the system was dead. Pull the drives out of there and dock the internal drives with another computer.
It's worth having one of those. It's worth having one of those anyway. They're $25 and it makes it really easy to, like, when you're getting rid of old drives and stuff. Like, I'm cleaning out the garage right now and I had a pile of hard drives in there. I've just plugged it into the dock, seen what's on it, wiped it, done the 7 times wipe, and I'm in and out.
And I would actually like a bit more automation for my offline backup as well. Like a feature, for example, that I would love for Dropbox. I have, for example, a folder on my desktop which is just my work files, and it has all my work, my writing, all my current projects are in there. That's a file that I want to protect. So I pull that into Dropbox like at the end of every work day.
Why don't you just save that file in Dropbox and make a shortcut on your desktop?
I guess I could do that as well.
Yeah,
that's a good solution. But what I was saying, I would like, if I didn't want to do that, I would like at least some kind of, like, say the Dropbox. Here's a file, here's a folder that's somewhere on my system. Here's the address for it. Back it up every hour.
Not just in the Dropbox folder.
There are a ton of tools.
Symlinks. You just want symlinks.
And I don't like the idea of not having a local. I want to have a local version of it as well, because what if Dropbox goes belly up?
Well, Dropbox has.
Well, you'll have a local version.
Local version.
Oh, so the shortcut isn't just a link to the offline version?
What Dropbox does is takes a folder on your hard drives and puts it on the internet.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so even if Dropbox stops working, even if you turn off Dropbox, when you do that, you have the opportunity to keep it says, do you want to keep these files on your hard drive or do you want to get rid of them?
Right.
Even if Dropbox stops working.
The only place where Dropbox doesn't do that is on the mobile side.
Yeah, mobile.
And the other, because if you're paranoid like me, the other reason why it's good to have offline stuff, even if it's only for your super critical files. Like, one of the reasons why I'm happy to pay $25 a year for iTunes Match, even though I don't use the Match part of it very much, is really I'm paying that for the security of knowing that all my music there's an external cloud backup for it all.
Except for the explicit versions.
Yeah, there's that. They need to fix that.
Yeah.
All our podcasts.
Back up your stuff if you take nothing else from this, or just look into backup solutions.
It's worth. I just looked. 2 terabyte hard drives are $120 for green ones. You don't need a high performance hard drive for backup to get the cheapest thing from a reputable vendor you can find with a good warranty. And yeah, it's worth spending. Like, I literally have the dock with the naked drive jammed into it. You don't make to spend a whole lot of money on this.
Right.
And both Windows and OS X have tools built into them that make backing up pretty easy.
I will feel a lot better when SSD technology gets to the volume where we're away from kind of spinning platters and mechanical parts in hard drives, because they just fail. No matter how good our hard drive technology is, hard drives fail.
Well, the SSDs, the studies, there have been studies that show that SSD reliability is not significantly better than hard drive reliability.
Gel packs, then, whatever.
Yeah, you want
the
cubes,
next thing.
holocrons.
Yes. Yeah. Isolinear chips.
The thing is, you should always back up, because the thing is, backing up protects you from hard drive failure, but it also protects you from malicious activity and mistakes too. Running a RAID 1 mirror doesn't do that, right? If you get a virus that wipes out all your MP3s, which was a thing that happened about 8 years ago, that having a RAID doesn't protect you from that. All it does is protects you from hard drive failing. So backing up and mirroring aren't substitutes for each other.
That's why I let my Time Machine do all the mirroring, but I also do a la carte manual backups of things that are most important to me, like some of my music collection,
Time Machine is
my
a backup,
pictures, or my work files.
What we're talking about is using 2 drives as one image, as one.
Oh,
as
no,
one
don't
volume.
do that. If you have a backup, it needs to be on a totally separate drive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Next topic: stop motion video. I tested a bunch of apps and ended up using Frameographer to do stop motion video. At this very desk, at this very table, a few weeks ago, or last weekend, I guess. It seems like a long time ago. But it was kind of cool because instead of doing a time lapse where you sit down and everybody moves really fast and you play the Benny Hill music, I actually took a new frame every time I added a piece to this Lego build that's sitting on the table right here, the MIDI scale Star Destroyer. And I thought it was neat. It was fun. I learned a lot. There's a how-to up on the site. Norm, Gary, you had talked about doing that before, and then I think you figured out how much work it was going to be.
What, stop motion?
Stop motion.
No, I think it's interesting to watch those builds sometimes. It's a good way to watch something come together, but I don't think I would put enough time into creating my own.
It took 6 hours
Yeah.
to do a 400-piece build.
Yeah.
So it was a good way to stretch out, like make the enjoyment last longer. Also, I was really frustrated by the end, so maybe it's not a good way to make the enjoyment last longer.
Sounds like tantric Lego all over again.
Kind of, yeah. And then let's see, a couple of other things. Norm, you tested the Lumia. Well, we tested the Lumia 900. I did the phone stuff.
It's probably the biggest thing.
It's like every other Windows phone except for the camera.
I saw a very enthusiastic article on the Huffington Post this week that said that the Lumia 900, this is Nokia's big comeback phone, and this is going to be the savior of Windows Phone. It's a big phone.
It's a
big
big phone.
Large.
It's a big phone because of LTE and the big battery
Right.
inside. That is pretty much I think Nokia, if they could have had LTE and a good battery life on a smaller phone, it would be the size of the Nokia 800.
I liked the 800, the smaller, the exact same design.
Same design.
That looks like
same
the Kindle
screen,
DX. It's too big.
Yeah, it's the same 800 by 480 resolution screen, and the reviews came out. We had our own quick look and test for camera stuff, but the reviews came out, I believe, Tuesday, and I did not realize how many Microsoft fans there were on the internet who are so strongly behind this phone. Some reviews.
This is like anything else.
Well, so this is we've always said before, like at some point there's going to be the phone that everyone's going to rally around and say, this is it. This is the messianic phone for Windows Phone 7, and this is it, right? This is now what has emerged.
Well, for Windows Phone 7, the software which came out over a year ago.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a bunch of questions about longevity on this phone because Microsoft hasn't said whether current gen, like the hardware is faster. It's the faster CPU than in the first wave of phones, but essentially it's the same platform, same memory, same screen resolution.
There's no reason that
all
this
that
needs
stuff.
to be a quad core or even a dual core CPU on this phone.
Not even talking about that. The performance is really good on the phone as it is. The question is, when there's a new version of Windows Phone that comes out later this year, theoretically, they haven't said that, but we assume that there's going to be a new version of Windows Phone this year. Are these existing phones going to be supported? I mean, this is a $99 phone on contract, so there's
free actually on AT&T if you order online.
Oh, because they give the discount.
They reduce the price.
Wow.
What kind of offer would I need to make to you, Norm, to get you to put away your iPhone and just have that be your phone going forward?
Like, for how long? What does going forward mean?
I don't know. The next year.
One entire year.
One entire year. Do you think you could happily make that
really,
switch?
Really compelling.
What are we talking about until the iPhone 5 comes out?
What would you feel like you'd be losing?
I'd be losing Instagram. Yeah, Instagram.
Well, until they eventually get around to it.
I think it's too big. I like the screen density. Picture.
You missed the Retina.
Yeah.
Okay. It's still a good screen.
Yeah. No, it is. It's a good screen. It's not a great screen. I mean, we in our quick look, we went through all the apps that we use on our iPhone and what people want on their phones, and a good chunk of that is on the Windows Phone platform. I'd be losing the security, like Will said, of knowing that this phone would last a year. I mean, I'd be okay with it now, but who knows? A year from now, I can assume that the iPhone will run, iOS 6 or 5.5.
Right.
I don't know that this phone, being the flagship Windows Phone, right now will run Windows Phone 8. Right. And that is too much of an uncertainty. If this phone came out, and I think that's most of the reviewers had a problem with that this is the best hardware running, not the best software.
Yeah, I mean it's I think it's a perfect example of when the hardware and the software just feels kind of disconnected. I mean it took Microsoft this long for them to finally kind of get the hardware and the software together in a package that seems compelling. Like it shouldn't take anything like that long.
Yeah. I did my own test on the camera. And there are a lot of things I like about the camera. I really like the positioning of the camera in the back, in the middle.
I do too. I often find myself putting my a finger over the viewfinder on the iPhone.
Especially if you're using the volume buttons as a camera. Because if you're using the volume buttons on the top, the camera's actually on the bottom.
Right. And your finger can easily go over
and
it.
You don't expect that.
In the middle, you're not going to obscure it.
In the middle, I like the dedicated camera button. Image quality was good. The wider viewing angles are great. But there's a lot of things about Windows Phone 7 that I don't like from a fundamental app organization standpoint and just the UI stuff.
I like the UI stuff. For me, the question is all, when you buy a phone on contract, if you're getting a free phone or a $99 phone, the cost of the phone is in the data plan and the contract. And I don't want to recommend something if we think it's going to be abandoned in 6 months.
Yeah, I don't think Microsoft's going to abandon it. It's just, it's such an, even with Android, and again, I'm not the biggest fan of the Android operating system, but at least I know it's going to be around in a year. I know my Android phone's not going to be defunct in a year. It might be in terms of functionality with the latest version of Android, but it's still basically going to be ticking. Mm-hmm. Whereas Windows Phone 7, it feels like the future of it, even in the short term, is just so imponderable that you don't know what you're buying into.
The situation as I see it, and we talked about this in the comment thread a little bit, but they haven't said anything. So, absence of information should not be mistaken for information, but it seems like if they were going to support it, then they would have said something by now.
Well,
right?
we said last week, Microsoft's not just going to throw in the towel. They can't just cede the smartphone war and say, well, we give up. Here's
the problem. They've sold so few of the Windows Phone 7 phones right now that they could abandon those people entirely and not piss off that many people. That's the worst case scenario. And the fact that they're not saying anything doesn't reassure people, make them feel better about this.
Yeah.
It's a good platform. It's good software. The idiocy of the reviews where people are coming out and saying, "Oh, the specs aren't high enough," is insane, because the phone performs better than 9/10 of Android phones I've used in the last 2 years.
The quote unquote mediocre hardware.
Right.
It is absurd that right as they finally get
argument.
around to launching a handset that really justifies the OS and goes well with it, it's right at the point where now the software is starting to look older. People are going, well, maybe you don't want to jump in now because Windows 8's right around the corner.
And that's really unfortunate, because if they had.
It's not unfortunate. It's bad business. It's just badly planned, badly orchestrated business.
Do one thing right, stab yourself in the foot the other.
Yeah.
Look, the specs don't matter. The thing that's important to remember about phones always is that specs don't matter. What matters is experience, because you can't compare, just like you can't compare a Windows machine running the same hardware to a Mac machine running the same hardware to a Linux machine running the same hardware, because the OSs are dramatically different. Even if running Photoshop on a Mac and running Photoshop on Windows gives you dramatically different results, because they handle core stuff in very different ways on different OSs. That's even more true on mobile, where you're not just talking about the same hardware running on the same different software running on the same hardware. You're talking about different hardware running on different software. All that matters is what you get in your hand, is how it works when you have the phone in your hand. How does it run the applications you need to run? How long does it take to launch stuff? How long does it take the OS to come back from sleep? That's what matters. Pay attention to that. The specs matter fuck all. Literally, it matters on, if you're talking about one Android phone versus another Android phone, yes. 4 cores versus 2 cores, 1.5 gigahertz versus 1 gigahertz matters. This phone feels virtually identical in performance to an 800 megahertz phone that came out a year and a half ago.
Again, the biggest problem for me is ecosystem and the fact that it's trailing badly, and there's no priority. Yeah. There's no incentive right now for developers to make getting their apps on Windows Phone a priority. And so again, let's say you've got an Android phone, Norm's got an iPhone.
Well,
you're playing around on Instagram and draw something, and I'm like, why can't I play with you guys?
There is a massive incentive to get your phone ready on Windows Phone. When Windows 8 comes out later this year, most of the apps that run on the phone will run on those Windows 8 machines as well.
And vice versa.
And vice versa. Not everything. Obviously anything that's written specifically for ARM is going to have to be recompiled. But if it's a HTML5, JavaScript, whatever, there's 3 different classes of apps. If you write your app the right way, it'll be cross-platform. Mm-hmm. And getting a head start in this ecosystem now will, we've seen it with iOS every single time they released a new piece of hardware. The people who had the early apps that were high on the list made a fuckload of money when these new app stores open up. And the same thing's going to happen when Windows 8 hits.
It's just also goddamn cockamamie and clown shoes for Microsoft to say, right, Windows Phone, now we get it right. Windows Phone 7, yes, we finally heard you, and this is the new operating system that is brilliant, and we're going to make a go of it. And then a year later be like, oh, well, maybe not with that one, but this next one is going to be the one where we really get serious. Windows 8!
They were late to start, and it's not a great excuse. They are relatively fast to catch up now that they can copy some of the features that they know people
Yeah.
want. They don't control the hardware. They have a strong partnership with Nokia, but they control the software.
Well, they control the hardware spec, but they don't control the design and the features.
Or the release or
Right.
a lot of the pricing. It is in their best interest to work closer with Nokia to time the release of the next phone around the same time as when that
Why
next
not
big
build?
software
Why
comes
not
out.
build their own phone? Why not?
That's not what Microsoft does.
Really? What's the Xbox 360?
It's the only time they've done it. It's the only time it's been good when they've tried it before and it sucked every time.
Tried what before?
Building their own hardware.
Well, the Zune was a good piece of hardware. They just couldn't figure it out. But if they had
It
why
wasn't
not
good enough. If it was better, the problem with the Zune was it was as good as the iPod, not better.
Well,
than
and
iPod.
again, the problem is the same problem they face now, which is coming into a market which has already been locked down around a couple of key brands.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, the smart thing is the pricing. They are, again, not going for us. They're not going for converts. They're going for people, first-time smartphone buyers, of which in the world there are many,
Right.
walking into their stores,
but
here an AT&T store, and getting a free phone this is a great free phone.
the mistake there, and I know that there's been a ton of research. I talked to some analysts about this the other day on Twitter. The mistake there is that the thing that's holding people back from smartphones isn't the $200 that it costs to buy a smartphone versus a free feature phone. It's the fact that you have an extra $30 a month of data plan attached to your cell phone bill all of a sudden. And I understand tons of research say that people are much dumber than that, but I firmly believe that people are not so idiotic that that was you. That they think that they're not paying attention to data plan cost. I can't imagine that people don't pay attention to data.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what killed the kin, right? Microsoft must know this better than anyone.
So the solution to getting first-time buyers in isn't to make the phone free or $99. The solution is to make an attractive data plan that's realistic. Because the attractive $15, $10 data plan that AT&T has is idiotic at 250 megs. Yeah. That's going to last you an afternoon at best.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the Lumia. It's a nice phone. I thought it was pretty good.
IE still crappy.
IE does still suck, but I think that's probably more because they're not using WebKit and they're using their renderer than because there's something fundamentally like it's just nobody supports it. It's a chicken or egg market share problem, just like anything else. And then the last thing on the list. Well, we have two more last things, I guess. I tested a whole bunch of Twitter clients yesterday. Like a whole bunch of desktop Twitter clients. TweetDeck has gotten bad for Adobe Air. It stopped working right. The new version, I think, kind of sucks. What used to be Tweety and is now official Twitter for OS X has problems too. And Lauren Brichter, the guy who made that, is now no longer working at Twitter. So yeah, there's a void. I tested a whole bunch of them. I don't think any of them are particularly good.
I still use the official Twitter app on Mac. I think it's good.
For me, it just stops working, and I have to force quit it once or twice.
I never had that problem. I just like it because it takes up almost no screen real estate. Like I just
I'm a fan of that.
I used to enjoy having like TweetDeck as like my command console of Twitter, but like I don't really need Twitter's just like a little thing that happens in the corner of the screen. It doesn't dominate my whole screen.
And soon it'll happen in the corner of your eye.
Oh, even better.
Well, I like that. And then so that's on the site. You can read that. It's there are constant rumors of Tweetbot for
Tweetbot needs
iOS
to come out with
coming out on OS X.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that like when I posted that, one guy said, "Yeah, I really wish that Tweetbot would come out for OS X, but at this point, I think the guys that make it are just fucking with us."
Oh man, that iOS feature. I mean, the mute feature. I use that on Twitter during March Madness.
Oh yeah,
that certain people do just do nothing, tweeting about college basketball, which I could not care less about.
Awesome.
Mute.
I just stopped following them, but that's me. And then the last thing is you dug through your closet. Your report cards were prescient, Gary.
Yeah, my old school report cards. My teachers pretty much had me figured out.
Yeah, the one I liked best was the one Gary is creative and quite intelligent, but sometimes doesn't know what was it.
Hasn't yet worked out when to say nothing.
Right, that's it. That was
what's funny, I didn't show you. If you go through all my score reports, because I've got about 30 of them. They all say they're all variations on the exact same theme, which is that Gary needs to learn to be quiet and
did you guys
listen to other people.
I mean, obviously you did, but my report cards were never had that. Never had like
you didn't have
long notes.
Oh, I guess you had computerized report cards.
Computerized report cards in middle school. Elementary school, there was an experimental program where I had a long checklist of like a 5-scale, okay to satisfactory to excellent.
Oh no, we didn't do that. We had So I think all the way through, maybe in high school they had like something that the secretary typed up.
Yeah, we never.
But all the way through, like elementary school especially, you always had like a little note section on each report card.
Yep,
and they filled it in and said, "Oh,
just letter grade and average."
No, we always got those personalized reports. Yeah, I found a bunch of cool stuff going. So we're reorganizing the house for imminent baby arrival. It's amazing how something that's basically the size of a bag of flour can completely dominate your entire house before it even arrives.
That's, in high school they should have it now instead of the 2
It's like
eggs,
suddenly we used to
it's a bag of flour.
They
Like,
did that. They carried bags of flour in my high school.
Before Leah became pregnant, we had a ton of room in our house, and now there's nowhere near enough. And this thing hasn't even shown
You're gonna
up
have
yet.
to move.
So the guest room had to become the nursery. I built the crib, and we had to move a bunch of stuff out of one room to make room for baby things. And it creates like a chain reaction. It trickles down through your whole
things that
house.
the baby actually will not appreciate.
Yeah. Ungrateful little
Yeah, the baby's
fucker.
probably never going to remember this house. You guys will have moved into something else.
What the hell?
By the time the baby is enough of a human being, you should just wet its lip and stick it to the wall.
But because I had to like go into the dark recesses of my closet, where it's usually just a bunch of stuff is piled up, because I had to reorganize the closet, make room for other things. I found a bunch of cool. Like I said, I found my old school reports. I found my Sega Dreamcast, which I didn't even know I had anymore.
Oh wow, my Dreamcast
I thought
got
I'd given that
stolen.
away. So instead of my Dreamcast with Crazy Taxi, which I'm very happy about, because it's the only way to play Crazy Taxi with like the proper Offspring soundtrack.
Yeah, Crazy Taxi and Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 for Dreamcast. Like those were my core Dreamcast games.
Yeah. So I'm very excited about play. I've still got to find the AV cable for it, because I can't find that yet.
You can
But
probably get that on Amazon.
I've got it powered up, ready to go. I'm very excited to, and I need to get an extra long cable as well, because like the idea of wired controllers now is ridiculous to me.
Yeah, remember what a controversy that was when the 360 and PS3 were coming out? Oh, the
batteries.
It's gonna be just like the Wavebird. The Wavebird.
Yeah. And of course now the idea of wired controllers just seems absurd to us.
Yeah.
I like wired controller on the PC.
I mean, pros again will continue to insist on it, right? Because you don't want any issue of possible lag. Like you just want the straight up connection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But for people like me that want to just be able to sit across the room, cables are just nutty.
So anything good out of the closet besides the Dreamcast?
So
Anything
I was
else?
very excited. I was very happy with the Dreamcast. A bunch of random cables and things that, like, I have a massive bag of cables that is just like one huge, like, massive knotted ball of madness. But so I managed to get a few cables out there, and things that I know that I'll need a lot, and I put them in a separate box. I kind of organized my life a little bit better. But what else? I found my old Game Boys.
I saw that.
My original Game Boy from 1988, the first one that
The
came out.
6 AA battery one?
Four AA's, and then the Game Boy
Was
Pocket.
it the one with Tetris, or did you not get the one before?
I found no, it was the one that I got Tetris the day it came out.
That's no T-spin Tetris too. That's big
Tetris
money there.
that was bundled.
It came with it. Yeah.
Yeah, it came with it, right?
It didn't come bundled with my one.
Oh, maybe not in the UK.
Yeah,
Because mine had Tetris.
And then I got a Game Boy Pocket, which is basically just the same. Before the Game Boy Color came in, still black and white, but a lot smaller, runs on 2 AAAs.
Oh, wow.
And that's what I'm going to use now for my old school gaming, because the original Game Boy, though it still turns on and works, the screen is kind of jacked up. Like, it's not really...
Well, it ate batteries too.
And it ate batteries as well. I mean, it's definitely got some old school appeal, but the Pocket is also pretty old school as well, and it's a lot smaller and easy to carry around.
I think the first one, my sister bought a Game Boy, but the first one I bought was the Color, and that was a revolutionary experience for me.
The one?
The turquoise. Yeah.
I basically bought that first Game Boy as I mean, that Tetris cartridge was practically fused in there. I mean, I don't think I ever put another cartridge in it. And we used to have the link cable.
Yeah.
And the first time we ever played Tetris, where like, if I create a Tetris, it shoves up your stack. It comes down to you across the link cable. Oh my god, brilliant!
Yeah, I was like, what just happened?
Oh, you screwed me. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good times.
Did you still the best version of Tetris ever made is the original Game Boy version.
Did you get into the GBA? And Dr. Mario was good too. I played a lot of that. And I think Super Metroid or Metroid. There was a Metroid game that came out for the.
Like I said, I don't think
Game
I ever
Boy.
played anything else other than
God,
Game
that
Boy.
was such a good
Remember the
game.
Game Boy Micro?
Yeah,
Well,
That was so
after,
ridiculously teeny
that was after
tiny.
the Advance, wasn't it?
Well, there's Advance and then SP, which is widely considered as the best Game Boy
Yes.
in the modern era. And
Oh,
after
I didn't like
Advance,
the SP.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Because it had both the original Game Boy cartridge and the Advance cartridge, and the flip up better screen, it's really ergonomic and pocketable, and then the micro.
I didn't like the form factor.
Can you
Didn't
hear
like the-
Chloe in the headphones, you think? She's barking
I don't
right now.
know.
I don't know what she's barking at. She's
I
in
didn't-
the other room.
I didn't like the landscape form factor
I think
of the SP.
well, it's the same screen resolution.
Is
though,
there
right?
is there any system that you can buy on the market today that is still backwards compatible with Game Boy?
Which ones?
I think the original DS, the DS would play original GBA.
Yeah,
and GB
I
games,
have an
wouldn't it?
original DS that will play GB, and even the DS Lite takes my GBA cartridges.
Yeah, it's the
But I don't think
it's the DSi one.
But I don't
though.
think it takes the regular DS Lite.
No, but the DSi
DSi lost it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, and I don't think they sell that anymore. The original DS.
I'm
do
sure
they?
you can get it used.
That's what I'm saying, but there isn't like currently
I'd say
an in production system,
Probably
which
not.
you can still play Game
And
Boy
those games are
on.
20 years old at this point, 25 years old in some cases.
And yeah, and even the ones that are compatible won't play my ancient original chunky Game Boy cartridges.
This is a problem.
What?
Some asshole's fax machine is calling me, and because I don't have a fax machine on the other end, they just keep calling every 5 minutes, and
That's
I've been doing
annoying.
it all day.
Wow. How do you? There's no way to stop.
I'm just going to forward it to the fax machine and then throw the fax away that comes out. I need to find somebody's fax number that I can forward my calls
right.
to.
I see. Yeah,
And
you'll
then-
let it go through so it'll stop trying.
What I should do is forward it to like the subway so that they get, because it's going to be somebody for the assistant DA's office or something. I don't know. Did you guys ever do the thing where you plug the GBA into the GameCube to play that Zelda game
Nobody
or
did
Crystal
that.
Chronicles? I did it. It was fun. I don't care what anybody says. It was a good experience.
I know.
Do you still have encounter people who ask you to fax them things?
I
Because
haven't-
I do all the
yesterday.
time, and I find it baffling. I'm like, I actually
Certain
said
industries.
to someone on the phone, they're like, where am I supposed to go to fax you something?
Well, we've been filling out paperwork.
Yesterday, I had someone asked if I could. They could fax me something, and I said, "Can you send it to me in a PDF?" And they said, "Oh, it's a lot of trouble for me because I had to scan it and then convert it to a PDF."
Well, that's the thing. I scan
Why do
stuff all the time. Like I get paper. If I've got to sign a piece of paper or something, I'll sign it, scan in the signed copy, and then email you that. But faxing is, you've got to be kidding me.
I scanned a high res of my signature a long time ago, so I just copy and paste the signature into shit that I need to
See,
do that.
that's even
I
smarter.
paid $10 for iAnnotate.
That was
and
good,
I
too.
use the Cosmonaut to actually sign.
See, that's smart as well.
I use my finger with
Very
iAnnotate, and so I look like a
Yeah.
serial killer, basically.
It's not your thumb.
It looks like I'm
Yeah, I need to come up with a better
looks like
solution.
a-
But
like
people still ask
voices.
for faxes all the time. And I
Fucking calling
honestly
again.
don't even know where you would go.
It's escalating. I hate these people.
You got to do something.
Fax machines are the devil, man. That'll do it for what we've been testing. We're really super late today, so we're not going to do questions. I have a big backlog. Maybe Norm and I will do a question and answer podcast at some point or something, blast through some. That'll do it for us today. Gina just hit the door. Hold on. That won't do it for us today. Hold on. Do we do anything else? No, I guess that's it.
We'll have some fake.
Do you want to do
outtakes.
one question?
No, I don't want to do questions. I want to talk about fake outtakes.
Okay, well, I'm going to play the music, and then we'll close the show and do fake outtakes.
Okay.
We'll do questions next week, as always. Actually, we have a big backlog, so don't send any more questions right now.
No, send questions. I listened
Okay,
to all of
okay.
them today. Only 2 of them were good. Quality of
Or length or
yes.
topic.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't generally do, hey, what phone should I buy questions, because everybody but you thinks they're boring. Not you, Norm, but everybody, the person whose question we're answering is bored by them. So send us questions that are more kind of spiritual or about credos and stuff like that. It's podcast@tesla.com. Keep it under 45 seconds. Make sure it sounds good. That's like the biggest thing. The biggest reason we reject questions is because it sounds like you're recording it on the back of a motorboat, which isn't a good sound for anybody who's listening at home. And that'll do it for us this week. As always, thank you, Gary and Norm, for coming by. It's nice having you down in the house. I'm glad.
Well, yeah, it's
Coffee and all that stuff.
still feels very
Sunny
homey
day
to
and-
come by. It's a beautiful day out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little chilly, but
Get out, get a coat,
Sorry.
get
This is Pacifica, man.
Get out of the
Layers.
city. close to the ocean.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to see sun while we're doing this instead of just being locked in a basement someplace. Today's outro theme comes at us from Fat Tony. I think this is his first one. Thanks, Fat Tony. We'll see you guys next week. Hi there, I didn't see you.
Yes, 1,000 times yes. Do it, of course. Yes, yes, yes. Do it, absolutely yes. Yes, 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 yes. Oh God, yes. Yes, yes, do it. Fuck yes, do it. Yes, 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 do it. Yes, 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 yes. Now, the best part of that is, I don't know if you do, but I remember what that's from.
I don't remember. What
It's from the Animal Crackers. Isn't it?
It's from me saying that you and Norm should act out the Animal Cracker scene from Armageddon, and you say nobody wants to see that, and I put it to the chat, and that was me reading out the chat responses as they came in.
It was
Everybody-
unverified, though.
Everybody wanted to see that.
They could have all been saying no, I would need eye bleach, and you would have said yes, yes, yes.
No, you saw the same chat stream I did.
I wasn't watching chat that day, so I don't know.
I think you'll find that's what people wanted to see.
We have topics. Gary, Well, first off, Felicia Day's YouTube channel has launched, Geek and Sundry. Our friend Veronica has a show. Your friend Will Wheaton has a show where he's doing board games. He's playing board games with his friends, and they sit down and people of note. And
People in the geek universe.
People of note in our world, yes.
Yeah.
You expressed interest in being a guest on said show in the next season.
Yeah, it seemed like the sort of thing that I would enjoy doing.
I think that you being on the show would help that show a lot to liven up the conversation.
Okay.
Did you feel that the first episode was too dry or something?
It was a little slow.
Am I allowed to be
Yeah,
honest and
why wouldn't
opinionated?
you? Why wouldn't you?
Why not?
I
Yeah.
did not enjoy the first episode. I think
And you should be in the wheelhouse
Yeah,
there because you
exactly.
love Leslie Crusher,
well, no, I don't love Leslie Crusher, but
but you love board games.
I love board games, and I love.
It's a great idea for a show.
Yes,
It's a good.
Love the idea. I don't know why no one's
A
done
bunch
it
of
before.
geeks sitting around playing a board
Yes.
game, talking about
People
geeky
you
stuff.
like, exactly.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And they had Sean Plott, Day 9, who's a very well-known commentator on StarCraft on there, so I wanted to watch him.
Right.
And he's also a big board game geek.
I didn't know that.
So it was. I went in wanting to love it, and I was incredibly bored.
Did you not think the personalities were lively enough? Or
I don't
something?
think they edited it to make the use of the personalities. I think they were.
It was more about the
really
game than the
tame.
conversation. Is what I would say.
Right.
They did this cutaway to like, oh, Will Wheaton, like they had the other players talk about how what they thought about the game, like, oh, I'm going to try to do this, and I can't believe he took that move from me, but that's not what I really wanted to hear.
They almost do it like a sports cast.
It was
Yeah.
almost like reality show. They had like the little confessionals, like at this
Right.
point in the game, I was thinking this.
I
But
wanted like dinner for five,
Just
they
good
didn't-
geek conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
like with the framework of the board game around
Yes. And they did too much. I mean, they spent a whole bit at the beginning explaining the board game, but not enough time explaining the board game because they cut around it.
Well, it's hard. It's hard to as anybody
very,
who's
very
tried to
difficult.
teach somebody who's not played a game before, especially Small World, which is a complex game. It's a difficult thing to do in like a 4-minute chunk, which is what they tried
Right.
to do.
Yeah. Right.
I don't think it's Will's fault because I think he did a pretty good job of it. But it's a challenging task.
I think it either should have been like a full hour or 2 hours long and had the entire game. And
It was what, like 30
it was
minutes?
30 minutes, edited down. They should have either made the point of the show explain the game or start off with a game that a lot of people know.
Yeah.
Or just went straight up podcast style and just have it, dinner for 5 and have it fun. Be
Like
fun.
dinner. I would love to hear a conversation with those people talking about
'Cause
things
they
of interest.
Exactly. I wanted to see what it was like for a popular YouTube StarCraft guy to talk with, the Mythbusters guy, right? And,
Right.
And,
right.
and
Grant.
yeah, Grant. But they didn't do that.
Yeah. So, but I thought this was a fantastic opportunity. When you said, "Hey, I'd like to
troll
do
me?
this," I thought it was a great opportunity to troll you because I have tried to teach you games before.
And God forbid you ever miss an opportunity.
Well, it goes both ways, Gary.
It's true. I feel like,
Yeah,
we both give as good as we get.
I do not feel like I take unfair advantage. That was the fax machine again, by the
Wow,
way.
they're just not leaving
Every
you alone,
5
are they?
minutes. I'm going to have to do the whistle in a minute. Yeah, like from our experience trying to
So
teach you
let's
how to
just-
play Ticket to Ride.
Let's just recount the story here, which is a very complicated
Okay.
game.
No, it is not it's the simplest of these games.
Not the way you explained it.
Back on me. Thank you.
Having watched Will's new show,
Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton, my golf buddy.
Yes, not me. Well, my name is Will too, so
Right,
it's
that's true.
we're
but
audio
Will with one
podcast.
L. I thought that was clear.
But okay. There's no pronunciation difference between Will with
I
one L
lingered
and
on
Will
the
with two
L
Ls.
quickly. I got it out quickly to indicate there's only
Will
Will
versus Will.
as Will.
Okay, I can see that.
I tweeted that I would be interested in being a guest because I have no shame.
Yeah, that
And,
is 100% true.
And Jordan McNew, who's a friend of mine and also someone who's well known in the geek world, he created Prince of Persia,
And Karatika.
retweeted, and yes, Karateka, retweeted back to me. Oh, I've done it. I've recorded an episode. It's great. You should totally do it. And copied in Felicia Day, who runs the Geek and Sundry YouTube channel, and Will to say you should have Gary on. And Felicia very nicely tweeted back and said, "Oh, we'll have him on next season for sure." Because I guess they've probably already shot out the first season,
sure.
and they'll do season 2. So as long as nobody forgets, maybe that's something I'll do. It seems like it would be fun. And then
my
you,
response
and then you
was-
instantly IM me privately to say,
Dude, that's not
you
a good
don't-
idea.
You don't know what you're doing. You shouldn't be
No,
getting
no, no.
involved in this.
No, that's not what I said. What I said was, I don't think you've thought about the repercussions of volunteering to do this.
Okay.
Because you have no control over what game they're going to choose to play. And if you sit down in front of a game like Small World, you are going to be bored within like 5 minutes.
First of all, you don't even know that. What if part of being a guest is
That's
they
possible.
say to you, what games would you be interested in playing?
I can't believe that anybody would ever say, yeah, we should play Small World. I could be wrong. Maybe that, like, I don't get that game at a fundamental level. So maybe it's everybody's favorite game and I'm the asshole.
The point is,
I want to see you learn to play Agricola. That's what I want to say.
This is the point, is if I actually were to be a guest, presumably I would know ahead of time what game is going to be chosen.
Yes.
And I would take that time to be a professional and to learn the game and practice it so that you show up prepared. Just like any professional would.
Why don't we just do this ourselves?
Because it's already, that's cheap and lame.
Well, we don't need to do it
I did like the idea, though, of like where our hypothetical conversation went, that I end up on the kids' table playing Hungry Hungry Hippos while the grown-ups are playing, Ticket to Ride or whatever.
Game of Thrones.
And then I get frustrated even by can't understand the rules of Hungry Hungry Hippos and like tip the table over, cue crying children.
Winner out.
Fade out, Finn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I think that's a good.
Yeah. So I would watch. Don't tell me you wouldn't watch that episode.
Oh, dude, I'm watching it regardless. I'm 100% in.
Tip the board upside down. Little Hungry Hippos balls go flying everywhere.
Right.
Smashing it, crushing the hippos' necks. And
Hippos are gonna starve.
Kids are crying their eyes out. Call security.
This is perfect internet right there. It's good
internet gold.
Or put you against a prodigy. Board game
but
prodigy.
in reality, it would be
it would be a good sport.
Like I said, you need lively personalities to make these things interesting, and I think I could be a lively.
You are definitely a lively personality.
Oh, speaking of games, I know the guys at Bomb have played the Cards Against Humanity.
Yeah,
we
were there,
and I have a set now.
I want to play.
I have a set. Yep. One of my housemates has a set, so I have a set
access.
I have access to a set. It's a great game. I went to a party where I played that, but I also
hold on. Explain what card we should.
It's apples to apples. If you don't know apples to apples is, you get cards and you match. It's a matching game. We're trying to pick the most appropriate or the funniest adjective with a noun or the situation with a noun.
So, for example, in apples to apples, you will get custard, and then you have to choose
delicious,
lemon, delicious,
I don't know,
apple, whatever.
Right, and it's a variety of cards, but it's very tame. Apples to apples is very PG, and Cards Against Humanity is very R.
No, it's not even R.
It's
blue. It's like a really offensive comedy.
It's very offensive.
Yeah.
But in addition to playing Cards Against Humanity, because I don't want to just do that, everyone's done it before. We also played Metagame. Have you heard of Metagame?
Yeah. We played the metagame. I played the metagame with Ben.
It's really fun. It's just like apples to apples
the metagame,
except instead of you going around turns and one person picking out the winner, it's about encouraging discussion. So the adjective cards will be situations like what game has the best graphics, or what game is the most cinematic, or what game has the most hardcore. So
it's basically like an internet message board argument.
And then the cards that you have are game names. And so you would play, okay, I think Quake has the best graphics, or the Quake had the most influence in this culture.
Right. And somebody else might have Super Mario Brothers.
And then you have a big argument about it, or you make a case for it.
It works surprisingly well.
For people who...
So you're saying you should shuffle the cards together and do Cards Against Humanity with the metagame?
I don't like these games, and there's a whole stream of this, I guess, in like just regular kind of family type party games that are all about like trying to get people talking.
Mixer games.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know, isn't conversation just something that should happen organically and naturally, rather than here's a list of like topics that are going to kickstart conversation? That just seems kind of lame.
Well, the metagame is more about conversing about video games. It's more about showing you the depth and the creativity of your knowledge of
it turned out, because if you play that with people who write about video games for a living, then it's very like pretentious. Oh, I know so much about this game.
Yeah, that's true.
And my piece for this website was about
unless you're playing with Jeff.
Yeah.
If you're playing with Jeff, then the whole other thing happens. Yes. But Cards Against Humanity is about showing how filthy and blue you can get. It's kind of like the producer's joke.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's literally...
is it the producers? No, you're talking about
the Aristocrats?
The Aristocrats. Yeah, sorry. What's the producers? That's the
musical
with Nathan Lane and Ferris Bueller.
And Hitler.
And Hitler, yeah. But it's like the Aristocrats. You basically... It's just an opportunity to see how incredibly filthy you can make every single instance So it's almost an exercise in grotesqueries. Anything else we want to talk about?
Oh, I saw Jiro Dreams of Sushi.
Oh, the sushi movie. How was it?
Amazing.
Did you go to the Embarcadero to see
Hold on. So was it like Helvetica amazing, or was it
Better than
Man on
Helvetica.
Wire amazing?
I would say not as. I'd say Man on Wire. It was. I like
it made you really happy watching this movie.
Yes,
that somebody
and
cared so
also
much.
made me really hungry. You can't watch this movie and then not have sushi afterward.
It's kind of funny. It's not in
Japantown.
Japantown.
Uh,
At the
That's
Kabuki.
racist.
No. Well, maybe a little.
Yeah, it is. I did have sushi afterward, and it wasn't as
That's
good as the movie.
racist.
I learned so much about sushi.
Isn't it the worst time to go get sushi because you're going to be so aware of the fact that sushi you're getting is probably inferior to the stuff you just
but
saw?
you still want to eat it.
Right.
I didn't realize how important tuna was. I mean, I don't want to spoil the movie. It is about an 85-year-old man who is regarded as the world's greatest sushi chef, and he has devoted his entire life since he was 10 to basically making sushi. But there are some nice, it's not just about sushi. It's about
It's like Indie
humanity.
Game, the movie.
It's about family and all that stuff.
Like all good documentaries.
I'll
It's
see.
about human
I'll see it
relationships.
when it's available on demand. It's one of those
Yeah.
movies that I want to see, but I don't need to go to a movie theater to see it.
The best thing about documentaries is that usually the time from movie showing to Apple TV or Netflix is incredibly low.
Right.
Yeah,
they're not money makers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. So
Yeah.
I'm stoked about that. I'm glad it was good.
It's very, very good.
I tested some earplugs. I forgot to talk about this. I went to a concert the other night and I wore some of those earplugs that are supposed to make you not be deaf, and also not muffle music so badly that you can't not like if you put the orange the orange ear stoppers in like you use if you're using a chainsaw, and they worked really well. They muffle a little bit, mostly high and middle ranges, like vocals mostly. But for the most part, I was pleasantly surprised, and my ears didn't ring for the next 2 days, which was awesome.
Next Monday, I'm going to be doing a short stint on Forecast, which is a podcast by Tom Merritt, who's the other guy on Sword and Laser with Veronica. And I'd never heard of this podcast before, but it's basically about every week he gets 3 guests to come in, or 4 guests to come in.
So there's 4 people?
So there are 4 people, and each person for 15 minutes makes a prediction about the future, which is why it's called Forecast.
Huh.
So is it the FOUR cast or the FORE cast?
It's FORE. I'm not sure, but
Okay.
it's a pun. 4 people make forecasts about the future, and he brings in
What's
people
the
from
topic?
different. No, there is no topic. Everyone just gets 15 minutes to make a case of what they think is.
So it's like
something
a
that will
debate
happen
show.
That sounds
in
like
the
a lot of
future.
work. Have you got to prepare? a
Yeah.
whole-
That's
a
why I
whole
bring it up.
speech?
I have not decided yet what my forecast is going to be.
Well, you can't do the goggles because everybody's going to want to do that.
Well, the thing is, you can talk about as far in the future as you want. It can be very speculative.
Heat death of the universe.
That is a very safe bet. That's a very, very safe bet.
It's not that safe. I mean, traditionally.
I have some ideas in mind. I don't want to share them right now.
Okay.
But if people have ideas that they want me to talk about,
Hey, guess who's
tweet them at
calling?
me.
Why don't you
It's
just
blocked.
turn that off for the duration of the podcast?
Airplane mode.
Because then I'll just have 50 million voicemails.
Well, but
the
at
fax
least it won't be
machines.
interrupting the podcast every 5
I
minutes.
guess that's true. I'll put it in airplane mode. You guys are mean. Who do you know who the other guests are, Norm?
I don't know who the other guys
Oh,
are.
really? You're going in cold.
I'm
So he
going in
could
cold.
have really good people and you.
Yeah.
Yeah, what if you go there and it's like Stephen Hawking and Neil deGrasse
Right.
Tyson?
And I'm like, I think everyone's going to have an iPod in the future.
Erogenous cloud. This is
I
the
think in the
opportunity for the
future-
This is
erogenous
right.
cloud.
I could popularize.
You should do the erogenous cloud. Why not?
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I
The singularity, everybody's fucking. That's all it is.
That's right.
All the time.
the
Everybody's
erogenous tuning
fucking-
forks.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Just boom. Woo!
Yeah, I wouldn't do something like that. That sounds way too lofty and intelligent. I couldn't actually hold forth on the
Well,
subject
I
for
feel like
15 minutes.
it's on me to lower the conversation. I
15
don't want to
minutes-
elevate.
That's going to be the longest 15 minutes of your life.
Yeah, because
Are you going first
is it
or
open
last?
discussion, or do you just
It's
go for 15
No,
minutes?
you go and then it's open discussion. So the other guests critique your forecast.
Oh, boy.
and
But
stuff
that's part of the
prepared.
15 minutes.
That's
You don't,
part of the 15
so you
minutes.
don't have to prepare
No,
a 15-minute thing. Okay.
A 15-minute presentation would be silly.
I would not go until I knew who the other guests were.
Right. Not only do I not know who the other guests are, I don't know the order. I don't know what their expertise is in. They could have much better.
You don't want to go
forecasts.
last on that one.
Right. It's also done. They invited me up to the studio. I said, no, I'm not going to drive to Petaluma to do that. So it's all over Skype video.
Oh, so
conferencing.
so you're gonna have the crap connection too then?
Yeah.
Why don't
Do
you
you
go
need
up
to-
there?
Yeah, you should drive up there.
It's an hour drive during a weekday.
Yeah, but those studios are cool. It's good to go up there.
If I had more time in a day, and didn't have to do
Is it what
that
time is it,
stuff,
like 5 or
it's
something?
4:00.
Oh yeah.
Oh, this could be a train wreck.
I can't wait. I'll be watching live.
I'm very excited.
I'm gonna just.
Do
Start
you feel like you're going to talk about something like near future and grounded, or are you going to be like more kind of out there
I'm
into
gonna
the
be more
distant
out there.
future?
More out there. I
Erogenous
think it's safer
cloud.
to be more out there.
Yeah,
I don't know. You can sound really ridiculous if you start talking about clouds and stuff.
Next year, I think. I mean, if you be too specific, it's not fun. Like, I think Microsoft is not going to do Windows anymore next year.
Oh no, come on! It's got to be more interesting than that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think the interesting things are the prediction you make about far in the
Swimming
future.
pools will be filled with liquid that you cannot drown in, like from the abyss.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's a
will
surefire
have-
winner. Dogs will get vocoder collars so they can speak in 3 years.
That's not bad.
That's
What do you think
ridiculous.
if you had to give a prediction right now,
Yeah.
and like, as accurate as you feel like you could be confident? How long do you think it's going to be before we actually have people living sustainably long term off Earth? Like,
Well, we have people living sustainably off Earth right now.
No, I mean like
self-sustaining.
So like a colony. I'm talking about a real colony, whether it be on the moon or
25
anywhere
years.
else. Longer. I think it's longer than that.
Depends on whether we spend money on it or not.
I think you would have to have the Kennedy moment would have to be right now for that to happen.
let me-
it ain't anywhere
And it's
close
not.
to that.
Let me phrase it another way. If we as a nation or China or India or one of the other space nations made a commitment to do it right now and invested money in it,
Right.
we could
There
have a
is no-
self-sustaining
but there's no
colony on
benefit
the
to
moon in
that.
25
Yes,
years.
we could.
not-
Yes, we could probably have it a lot sooner than that. The point I'm making is taking into account the political, the social
Yeah.
environment, where we're nowhere close to spending
100 years.
Like Newt Gingrich, right? Is I don't like him, but I actually think some of his space stuff is interesting. But he's considered a lunatic for talking about it, which tells you how far away from the political reality that is.
This is
Like,
true.
I take it back 400 years.
You know what? You laugh, but I
No,
actually think he's
400 years.
closer. I actually think 400 is closer than 25.
I think
There's no need for it to happen. The novelty. I mean, the
well,
fact
self-sustaining is the catch. That's
Right,
hard
the-
to do.
There would
The-
there would have to be a very, very strong practical application, like the discovery of a massive energy source that we could go mine or something. Like, we're not going to do it just for pure research or like because we can.
No, that's
The,
true.
the because it's there, or because if we want to see we can do it, it does not fly right now when everything's fucked up here on the ground.
Yep.
Well, and it never will fly as long as things continue to be fucked up on the ground.
We need our first contact moment,
Oh man, those
uniting
Red Vulcans.
the world.
We need it. We need an alien invader to unite us in hate against the
Squid.
outside force.
Psychic squid.
Psychic squid?
Yeah.
Really?
United the world and the Watchmen.
I guess that's true. Well, not in the Watchmen I saw. Okay, we'll see you guys. We're back every Thursday. Norm, you're on Monday at 4 on Twit Network.
Sure. I think that's what it is.
That's where you can
It
find
I'm
it.
looking forward to that.
And Gary, anything to plug?
No, not this week.
Okay. Well done. We'll see you guys next week. Bye. Bye, internet viewers.
What's that that keeps rattling in the